Where the bring down, we must remain. Relive the pain and turn it on low. 'Cause we must live up to our name. To those who intend on our end, we refuse to let you have the final say. Strike once, strike twice, redeem this world. We'll take our bombs, we'll make amends here. Where the bring down, we must remain. Relive the pain and turn it on low. 'Cause we must live up to our name. Strike once, we can't let go. Strike twice, reap in this world.
Sparks are up! Venom Crest take game 3!
Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
still going for this space. You would have. Chimera super low.
Trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again.
Oh my god! And everyone bow down to Venom Crest. Two-time champions. Bow down to Jay.
Good evening and welcome back to the Four Nations Week 2, Day 1 and the first game. It's us. My name is Joy K. I'm being joined by Evan and Rory. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing very well, thank you. First time on the desk. I'm a little excited to get into it. You know, first time here in UKEL. I'm not that familiar with the players, but I have done my research. But, Rory, how are we feeling today?
Yeah. You know what? I'm grand. This is my first show of the split. Coming off of the finals last split. So I'm really excited. It's been a long esports winter, so I'm happy to be back at it.
It sure as hell has been, and we have quite a match coming up as we have Broad and Friends versus Bulldog Academy for tonight's first game, so to say. We're all like fresh start off to the races, it seems, as it's our first time here as a desk, the three of us.
Yes,
but,
yeah. The new lineup.
Yeah,
the new lineup, the fresh meat.
Gross.
What better way to start it, you know? The winter cold, it's almost like we're in Game of Thrones or something and we just come into a new season.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like I live in Game of Thrones. Living in Sweden, it's -8 outside, so...
Hey, try coming to the UK, it's been rain all week, so...
What would you rather?
I would rather the cold, to be honest.
I work in flooding, so a lot of rain is rough for me. But, yeah.
Well, we know Rory's had a long day at work, at least, then, with all the rain that is just permanently in the UK. But we have Brother Friends versus Bulldog, just to get back to, you know, what's actually at hand tonight here, while we are on the desk. Let's have a look at the rosters here. I think we're going to start with Brother Friends first. Yes, we are.
So, there is something I wanted to get into straight up with Broad and Friends. You know, I've done my research. I've done a little bit of diving into this whole kind of UKEL scene, and that is the move to support for Akkers. You know, previously a top laner, this guy had, I think, since 2022, it's been about 88 games in the top lane. It may be 86, depending on two of the ones that have been minus from him kind of moving on to support. But it's kind of that aspect of how is that bot lane going to be coming out? Sin and Anarchy and kind of Akkers all having that combination of chemistry in a way. I'm quite excited to see how that strength comes forward in a way, because this is, as I said, 88 games beforehand on top compared to like going into support now. What's that difference going to be looking like?
I mean, it was a surprising role swap to see for me, but what do we make of it, Rory? What do we make of Akkers on support?
You know what? When I saw him playing his few games in support last year, I was thinking, surely this is just like, I'm filling in a spot. I didn't realize it was, I'm testing the water to dive in. So I was surprised, but quite, you know, pleasantly surprised to see him coming in, because I also think Aniki is a great powerhouse, so the team is just getting like more levels of strengths coming on top of them. But his synergy with Sin is really interesting. Like, if you were able to see the game 1 of their matches last week, they worked really well together. Like, surprisingly well for a fella who's just role swapped. So I'm very excited to see how they evolve as a duo going on.
Yeah, especially since the fact that they've been playing with each other since 2023. Now, Akkers would have been in that top lane role for then, so of course the synergy isn't that often. You don't really see top and support kind of roaming around the map together. It's normally like Akkers and Tweak, for example, in this instance. But, you know, since 2023, 26 now, that's 3 years together, and now going into a duo in the bot lane, that's going to be some insane chemistry.
So is there anything in particular that we can expect, or that you guys are expecting as we are, well, coming into draft number 1, hopefully without delays, particularly from Akkers? What are we looking at for like hero or champion pool here?
Look, I'm not expecting Akkers on an enchanter anytime. So,
No.
I don't expect him to be putting serious numbers in. I'm sure he's practiced a few, but Akkers was typically a go-in type of player when he was playing top anyway. So I'd be very surprised if he dropped a lot of that learned knowledge about perfect engages, and then sat back on a Yumi. You know,
Yeah,
it would feel a bit strange to me.
I
It would feel
mean,
a bit strange. Are we looking for a Poppy
personally-
support here, then? Possibly?
I was
Something like
I was
this?
gonna say, yeah, probably towards more of a Poppy. I know personally as a support player, it's very much a season of peeling rather than kind of that straight engage. So stuff like Braum, maybe something we expect to see come out, maybe something like a Rakan, so you can kind of flip that coin of peel and engage. But definitely something like a Poppy is gonna be quite prevalent in Aka's kind of champion pool.
Yeah, I mean, from memory, I think I've seen him play it as well when Poppy was still very much up in the top lane. I mean, still very viable, I would say. But let's have a look at Bulldog Academy, because that's what they are going to be facing tonight.
Yeah, Bulldog Academy coming off that 2-0 win versus Verdun Academy last week, looking really solid. Wormsaw, I was a bit surprised in game one that Wormsaw got a B2 Cassante when Sion was already picked. It was like, I don't think you need to pick that this early in the draft. Like, you can definitely prio some other champs. But whether that's we really want this champ or it's we're really scared Wormsaw is going to get banned out strategy, we've still got to see that. We've still got to see a few more games to see how that developed. Now, Pivolge, what a carry performance last week. Really impressive to see how he was playing previously in the Portuguese league. Now has come over to the UKEL and really found a home, and I'd argue definitely building up a name to be feared in the jungle of this split.
Lovely stuff. I mean, so far, because when I was looking at this roster before, the only name that really stood out to me and I recognized was Magpie. I think solid support. I have nothing bad to say about this support player.
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do. I do.
Maybe we should leave that for later, Rory. Maybe
Yeah,
we should
okay,
leave that for
sure.
the green room.
Yeah, valid. But I will say, he's been known to have a wonky engage now and then. I'll be very charitable and say a wonky engage.
A wonky engage. Everyone has off days, you know, it happens.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes they just happen to be on stream and then, you know.
Yeah, sometimes it happens to be in front of a couple hundred people, but you know, something I do want to ask you, Rory, about Bulldog is the fact this isn't fearless. It's just two best of ones, right? So the fact that Faulty may be able to play stuff like his Heimerdinger or his Nico, because it won't be technically banned out unless they decide to double ban mid. How is that going to kind of affect the side of Bulldog's drafting?
Well, frankly, I think when you're playing into Faulty, you almost always ban, like, your first three bans, in my opinion, are always Heimer, Nico, Alistair, and then the rest kind of just falls into place as the draft develops. But if Faulty gets Heimer or Nico, he can actually do a lot of work in. The Speller was a Heimer one trick, so if that's ever left open, I'd be shocked if he doesn't just slam it. And he had some very good Nico performances last week. Was actually foundational to them winning that game too. So yeah, really happy to see him on the picks, but I don't think either of them should get through. Otherwise, I've only seen a few instances where both of those champs were banned in the UKEL, and he went onto a LeBlanc and was fine, but nowhere near the level he is on this two trick.
So you'd say that if the enemy team has done their homework, they're going to be banning out both of these picks and forcing on that LeBlanc?
Look, unless Bertree has an answer, Bertree probably does have an answer, let's be honest, but I think it would be good to hedge your bets.
Makes sense. I think we head into our predictions, see what everyone was thinking, but I think it's a rather one-sided prediction on us today. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think it's pretty plain, but you know, there is definitely some reasoning behind it for me. I mean, I am a man of chemistry. I'm a man of comfort. I think most definitely the bot lane, having played with each other since 23, I want to put an importance on that, is like most definitely winning, in my opinion, because like Bulldog came into UKEL around, I think it was spring 25. They came in, they were 8th place, almost getting relegated, 1-8, and then like an 11% win rate, I think. Even though they've redid their team, they've come in, it's a new roster, whereas you've got that one big kind of powerhouse that have been here with each other since.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you touched on like that roster being built up, because obviously this is nowhere near the Broad that we saw win last split, but the inbuilt synergy that they've imported over from Rise is lovely. Like Anarchy and Tweak work so well together, even though typically we see Tweak playing more towards the bot side. Anarchy is always getting his waves pushed really well when Tweak's calling for a top invade. And it's just really nice synergy points that you love to see.
Good stuff all around. It seems we're all leaning on Broad, and yeah, Broad is our fan favorite here as well. Not just the desk, most often.
Look, I do want to say, look, Broad did go 1-1, yes, and Bulldog are 2-0. So technically, Bulldog are in the lead, and I know we're going to see standings in a second. So I do want to say this first: Gucci are better than Verdant Academy. Okay, so 2-0ing Verdant Academy is not equal to 2-0ing Gucci. So we've got to see how it plays out, but I do believe, even still, Broad are technically stronger in the standings, because they've got Gucci, who's a very strong competitor, already done with.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what you have to kind of like look into when it's this early on as well, right? Who have these teams been facing? And as you say, Gucci, a stronger opponent than Verdant Academy, it can be said. And yeah, I think we're actually not going to have standings, though, Rory. I'm very sorry to disappoint.
But we have the graphic. Okay.
Oh, production! You know, it's make a wish and it's granted to you. Here you go. Here's our standings right now. So we do see Bulldog Academy, like you mentioned, sitting in that second spot here, and Broad and Friends currently sitting at 5. But yeah, like you said, they have faced off against Gucci, and then Bulldog Academy against Verdant Academy, who are currently sitting on the 10th spot.
Yeah. And also remember about these placings, most of this is a tie for 1-1. So, like, between 4th and 7th, you know, it's all kind of a mismatch that we'll see develop throughout the split.
Definitely can't kind of like put too much emphasis on positions right now, as it's only the second week. I mean, teams are still getting comfortable with the new changes, especially as, you know, season 16 has just come out, so a lot of emphasis has been put on different roles that you would rather be like. It's kind of a different situation. Maybe you were playing for your top side in season 15, but now in season 16 you're kind of like, well, 6 items in that bot lane, maybe a Carthus or an APC is coming out.
We were talking a bit about it in the green room, right? That like APCs have been quite dominant with this change that has come through on the 6 items that are now available for ADCs.
Carthus is a god. I think Swain is incredibly underrated in 3 roles after they buffed his passive heal. And I play a lot of Swain. This isn't me just like being, I love the champion, I want to see him. I think he's legitimately like a really good champ right now. And is very
Swain
flexible with his build paths. So I would love to see that coming out as well in the bot lane.
So you want to see Swain APC, is what you're saying?
I wouldn't mind it. Not into like a Caitlyn, I think that would be rubbish. But into a lower range champion like a Kaiser, I think it could just smash it.
I don't want to see any APCs, frankly, because I've had my time against them personally playing, and I think it's absolutely horrible to lane against. I will not mention my KDA when I played against Zoe and Lux, but going straight on to draft, we're instantly seeing that Heimer ban come out from Broad and Friends, who's going to be directly against Mr. BDG Faulty.
Yeah, that is, people have done their homework on the side of Broad and Friends, I suppose. Sivir also being banned here by Bulldog Academy. The Nico gone as well.
They did it. They listened.
Cast the curse for Bulldog Academy on this one. You're not going to be able to play your champs. Maybe we're going to see something like a LeBlanc come out from Faulty. LeBlanc, Not a typical pick you would see in this season. Typically, you're going to be seeing more of like Talia, Oriana, Azir, stuff like that. Maybe a Rise, but with the Rise nerf, I'm not too sure about if you'll be seeing him again. But
I think he's still a monster.
Yeah,
because
a
lot of players. So I've seen this a few times in pro play over the last few days because of the actualizer buff. Some players aren't taking phase rush now and just taking actualizer and popping it when they need a bit of move speed, and then taking a stronger primary rune. We're saying Zahen. We don't talk about covers because wait, we're first picking Zahen.
No, that was a lock-in.
Okay.
That was a dead on lock-in.
If this is a first pick Zahen, I immediately assume Tweak's going to be playing it in the jungle because I think he has way too many counter picks in top side. So yeah, I have no idea why Zahen's getting picked this early. I don't think he's that strong of a champion, but you know what? Fair enough.
Possible denial pick here for the 2, but I'm also putting a question mark there. But I think you might be on the right track when you say it might be swapped over to Tweak. Ari locked so far for Bulldog Academy. Looking at the Yunara as well.
Yunara. Maybe Braum is going to be picked here, but I do want to add a little bit on to the Zahen pick. I mean, typically we see Pivolge. I'm not too sure if that's how you pronounce it. I am first time here, but we are looking at stuff where he likes to play kind of that more bruiser, and Zahen being that kind of passive, you know, you get that AD scaling the more times you hit. Absolutely nuts in the jungle compared into more kind of tanky stuff. I mean, Gwen being picked out again. I'm already looking at Broad and Friends comp and I'm thinking that's not a very nice team comp to play against. But stuff with like Gwen, how I believe Dusk and Dawn did get a nerf. It's not really that prevalent. I mean, AD scaling has gone down, but since when did Gwen use AD scaling, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a nothing nerf Gwen wise. I see a lot of players just not building it, to be honest. Some just don't like the build path because it's a bit clunky. Right, we're playing on current patch.
Whoa.
Current patch, right?
We're playing on current patch, so Mel is nerfed significantly. Yes, she has been micro-patched. So she is a little stronger, but she's still seeing about 47% win rate. Because if you don't know, she lost her invulnerability on her W. But she gets a shield instead. Nowhere near as powerful, but, you know, fine. It still reflects. It's still good into Ahri.
Still is. Gonna look at a Pantheon lock-in here.
Definitely quite a strong pick into Ahri. Going to be able to kind of bounce away that charm. I still think Ahri may have a winning side. I mean, if people think this is maybe a counter pick, but I still think the lane is quite strong. I mean, maybe we're going to be looking at double AD ban here for the side of Bulldog Academy. Going to be probably getting rid of that Varus, as I said. Maybe something like an Alphelios or a Caitlyn as well, just to kind of match that range with Mel. But on the side of Broad, not too sure what they're going to be doing here.
I would expect top lane bans because generally that Pantheon's going into the jungle. So
and there's the Jax, so
especially
absolutely on the right path.
So the Jax, Dusk and Dawn and Hextech Gunblade build is an absolute menace of a build right now. And it fully one-shots people, so I'm not surprised to see that champ getting banned out. It's very nasty. But as bans go towards the Leona, it makes a lot of sense. Broad are locking a lot of engage outside of a Gwen sprinting at you and throwing ult. So yeah, Leona going off. I expect to see Akkers on an Alistar or a Nautilus then. Maybe a Rakan, but can get charmed out of his knockup, which can make things very difficult for him.
I feel like kind of picking Nautilus here is maybe a bit tricky, as they do have Braum open and they may be a blind, but I don't think they really have that kind of snap engage if they do pick something like a Braum. So something like a Gragas doesn't really surprise me coming out in the top lane, can kind of peel at the same time, you know, be that key like bomber type of engage. But from the side of Broad and Friends, maybe something like a Nautilus, but it's a bit difficult when Braum is still open.
Yeah. Could be an option for Magpie. Also, like, we see the ban onto Lulu coming out. I think Yunara with a Enchanter support is very, very strong. So could even be looking at an Enchanter here. So we've got quite a solid front line coming out from Bulldog Academy already. We see the Corki standard against the Yunara, I would say.
Yeah, that lane is very, well, one-dimensional in the fact that we've seen it a lot in the LEC. Typically in EU, it's kind of more leaning towards that Yunara winning the lane rather into Corki. I mean, typically in other places like NA, though, it's Corki sometimes. But, I mean, picking something like the Rel kind of does make sense here. They can't really go with a Nautilus because Braum is still able, but Alistar was open.
Alistair, I think, is going to struggle more into... If he gets left out to dry by like a really well-timed body slam, it's a lot harder for him to do anything compared to a Rel who has shorter cooldowns. So yeah, you're right. Braum is getting hovered here and locked in. Actually makes a lot of sense now that you've got the reliable engage and frontline of the Pantheon and Gragas. Now you can just keep your Yunara safe. I think it's going to struggle a bit, though. Maybe a Karma could have just done a lot more work, I think, into this comp. Just giving everyone the move speed to kite away from the Gwen and the Zahen. But, you know, like I was saying earlier, Magpie, I don't really see him as an Enchanter player. So, stuck on the front line.
Yeah, speaking of frontline, I think it's most definitely going to be a little difficult for Broad and Friends here, kind of trying to find that engage. I think Rel Akers is going to have to kind of look for that flank, maybe look for something like an off angle to kind of go on to Bulldog Academy, because they can't really just walk straight at a Braum.
Or a Gragas, or an Ari who has Charm up.
Everyone.
Like, Rel really struggles to engage here.
Yeah, no. It's going to be the flank angles, and probably just to all in with the Magnet Storm just to get it off the ground. But then we will see what happens. Once that engage does come down, of course. I agree with Rory. I probably would have preferred to see an enchanter such as Karma, who can just enable the team a little bit more on the side of Broad Academy. No, not Broad Academy. Haha. Bulldog Academy. Thank you. But the Braum, it can work. It can work. And as you say, Magpie, it's not an enchanter player, so...
Look, I've seen him play Lulu. I wasn't impressed by it, is what I will say. He does play some enchanters, but I've never been like, that's a crazy Lulu coming out of him.
Yeah. Lulu also being banned out, and this is, Lulu, one of those by-the-book enchanters that you play if you're a support main, I suppose. Yeah. But I believe our casters are ready for us, so we are going to toss it over to Black Bloxer and Trajan. Take it away.
Thank you, JoyK and Deskers. My name is Trajan, joined by Bloxer here for Broad versus Bulldog. Now, the battle of certainly of the owners who live in chat, I think, is this matchup, is the Twitch chatting Nemly versus Jolly matchup is going to be one to watch by the side of the screen, so keep an eye on that one. But in terms of this first game, I think we were talking about this block, so while we were watching the draft, I think it seems like Broad have got themselves a pretty nice setup going into game one.
Yeah, I like quite a lot of what they've got for themselves right here. We're also coming into today's matchup looking at Broad as being a little bit of the favourites. So the fact that they've got themselves a lot of different angles to play around, I really do like. The Corki in the bot lane, I'm a lot less sold on. I don't think you're playing into a composition where the Corki wants to be getting close enough to really be dealing his damage. But then you've got the Gwen, there's a Hen. These are champions who are so incredibly hard to kill. And I don't necessarily know which of your lanes are going to be providing you that damage onto them. At least to rip through them twice, right? Zahen, you got to kill twice. Yeah. Gwen is immune. They're really difficult champions to try to play around.
Yeah, the comp for Bulldog it's got a lot of sort of mobility and a bit of versatility there. They can snap engage, they can kite back, they can play a few different ways, and it's hard to really pin them down. So if you're Gwen and Zahen, you're trying to chase after them, you might end up kind of getting run around the houses a bit. But as you say, someone's got to kill these guys eventually. With Zahen, you've got to do it twice. So I'm wondering who's going to take that mantle. It's going to be a little tricky, perhaps. It feels like it's kind of all on Yaztrum to really burn through them with the Yunara. And Magpie with the Braum, we love that pick for him. I think it's a great Yunara pairing, and that might help them deal with this very kind of beefy frontline trying to run you down. But it's going to be quite a lot on the Yunara, I think. And really, the standout that we saw from Bulldog in that 2-0 over Verdant Academy was Wormsoil on his Cassante game. And we saw some pretty nasty stuff from him up there. He's a very exciting player up in the top lane. And the Gragas can be game-changing with the ultimates. Fans of the LEC and Los Ratones will know this, right? We've seen what Gragas can do to change the course of history. And maybe this will give Wormsoil another bit of space to show us the quality that he's got.
Entirely possible, and it's especially useful in this matchup where when we were looking at what Bulldog were like last time, the bot lane kind of was the weak point that we identified. It wasn't exactly where the most excitement came from. Obviously, they were still 2-0. It wasn't that they played badly. They weren't dragging the team down, but especially in a current patch where the bot laners can be so very strong, the fact that you weren't able to fully carry maybe does throw up a couple of questions, but I think you've been given a bot lane right here where you can potentially get something going. I mean, I really like the Yanara. The Braum, as you said, it works very well into what you've got, but the Yanara specifically loves a messy split-up team fight where you get to just move your way through, weave through with that Transcend Self, and I think that you have that with this composition, especially alongside an Ahri who can be diving and weaving on through. It's putting a lot of pressure onto the Brob members to keep track of a lot of different moving pieces during these team fights.
Yeah, let's take a look at our predictions for this matchup, just to show, to be honest, to put a cap on what we already kind of knew was going to be the case. I think it was, I believe, a broad-centric desk, and it's a broad-centric cast. We know who the favorites are here. Those of you who watched the pre-show that we did before the season started will see Broad was one of our two, kind of the broadcast team loosely's two S-ranked teams. Them and Gucci are up there. They've already gone 1-1, so they are looking like the two real heavyweights coming into this season in 2026. Bulldog, though, certainly looking better than they left off at the end of last season. They were getting some scrappy wins, one of them quite notably over Broad and Friends, I will say, with Crisis subbed in jungle, so I'm sure Broad would love to set the record straight on that side today. But Bulldog are not to be underestimated. They're not to be written off so early, especially with some new talents on their team. And they've set up a pretty cheeky death brush at level 1. They didn't quite connect with a Winter's Bite onto Tweak. That could have been a bit of a tilter to start off Broad's campaign here.
Absolutely. Very, very close to them being able to pick up a quick kill, but oh boy, everybody is just going to be able to walk away from that one. I mean, if you step just that slightest bit closer to the bush right there as Tweak, you do go down. Everything is going to be standard, though. Both of the junglers going to be starting up towards the top side of the map and working their way on down. I think that is pretty interesting. This is one of the games that we're seeing where it isn't just a tank top lane matchup. There could be some explosivity top lane,
yes,
and so some different pathing could potentially have come through.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting choice. I would have maybe expected them to go this way with the Gwen top lane and the Zahen jungle. Though, of course, they could technically have flipped it, but it seems like Zahen jungle is what's really sticking, not quite as prevalent in top lane anymore. And the Gwen, when you're just going, you know, Nash's Riftmaker Rabadons, it's just all a play in a Riftmaker, and you completely shred people on this pick right now. It's an entire carry threat in its own right, alongside Sin on the Corki and potentially Bear Tree on the Mel. So the amount of damage coming out of this Broad squad is absolutely insane this game, if they can get within arm's reach of you.
And that's the thing, right? You're definitely not looking at this Broad composition and saying that lack of damage is the issue, but it does have a couple of weak points, and one of them is just non-committal engage. The only bit of non-committal you engage that you have really is just a Mel throwing out a little bit of a stun. And yeah, that is one way to go in. There's nothing else, though. Everything else is one of your members flinging themselves into the backline. And that is a situation that you're pretty happy with as Bulldog. I mean, looking at the champions that they have for themselves, Yanara doesn't mind kiting backwards, Ahri doesn't mind kiting backwards. Trying to jump into this composition and get close enough to make it stick is going to be very tricky.
Yes, a bit of a burden of execution on Bulldog Academy here, I would say, but they've got to get through that lane first, and some of the matchups might be a little tricky. I think bot lane, I'm honestly expecting this to be okay, you know, but kind of hands and skill aside, I think Yanara Braum is a very difficult combo to crack, especially with the short range duo that Broad has, but Mel into Ahri is famously good for Mel. The Reflect, nerfed as it is, still reflects Charm, and that kind of takes Faulty's one playmaking tool off the table, and then it's pretty hard to shove a Gwen out of a lane at the best of times, though of course we'll see what Wormsoil can do. So we'll see what Bulldog can put together early on here, and if the team fights seem to pop up, it might be relying more on Pivolge on the Pantheon to kind of find those picks, make use of that global ultimate, and set Broad off balance somewhat.
He really does need to get the pace of this game going, I think. As you've highlighted, right, there's a couple of lanes where you're not feeling so confident, but as the Pantheon, if you don't get early ganks going, you can fall very far behind. The Zahen is just going to give you more during these later game team fights, and the global ulti, being able to rotate around the map that much quicker, is so useful at the moment. I think especially with the way that the meta has changed in this new season, where you've got more time spent in lanes. One of the best attributes of a Grand Starfall from a Pantheon is being able to lane gank on an opposition that have pushed a little bit too far forwards. So if Pivotal is able to use that effectively, he's going to be able to get his team into a good spot, and I think that can make up for a couple of the deficits that this Bulldog draft has.
Absolutely, we see Wormsoil taking control of that push early on, and Bear Tree likewise in mid lane, dropping Faulty pretty low. We can see the power of this reworked Gwen in that scenario where all of the damage on the Q, on the Radiant Volley, is loaded into the first time it hits someone. You don't have to get too many of the impacts to get the value, and as you start putting early levels into it, especially if you can rack up some good AP early on, just get as much AP as possible. Those Qs, if you land them, are very obnoxious. The whole point was to make this champion less obnoxious, and I'll be honest, Bloxer, I don't think they really succeeded.
Yeah, it has changed a couple of very specific instances where it was annoying, but part of the annoyance as well was just getting nuked by her, and that definitely hasn't been helped. She now does more damage. I mean, almost every single one of her abilities took some kind of damage buff, and especially into a lane like the Ahri, which, as you said, historically not good, unchanged in the new look Mel, is still just going to be really frustrating. But I don't think it's limited to just the Ahri that's going to be having a bad time right here. I mean, you're sat as a Pantheon, you can't really do anything from range. You're sat as a Uranara, are you actually going to be able to get close enough to deal that damage? And the execute is still there and still frustrating.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the W still reflects Gragas ultimate as well, so we're going to have to keep an eye out for that one as we've got a little gank onto this bot side. Tweet getting into range, cannot find the pullback, and Magpie and Yazstrom will step away as Sin was on the reset timer.
I mean, you just didn't have the numbers right there to be able to really push any further forwards. Instead, it is just going to be a little bit of a rotation down from the remaining members of Bulldog, see if they can get involved. I really don't think you can go too aggressive right here, though. You've got some lower health bars already on your bot lane.
Seems to have stabilized at least, and Broad has opened up a 500 gold or so lead. You can see it's largely through that mid lane matchup. It is Bear Tree using this as favorable matchup to its highest degree. Has already got that lost chapter on the first back, and Faulty is opting into some damage with a blasting rod, but there's not really a great way to use it necessarily, unless you can find some hookup with Purvulge, I think. If there's a mid-jungle connection they can get, maybe trying to punish Tweak or someone else on a roam, we could see some value for that damage. Otherwise, it's probably going to be wave clear central, as this Scrab is not going to be Purvulges. They're actually going to commit for the play, and a flash away will not escape the root from Mel. The damage is there. First blood picked up by Tweak.
And that's a really nice roam. A bit of an odd timer, right? You're well before you're going to end up with the Grubs top side. You're really only rotating to go play for that first Scuttle Crab respawn. But I love the look. You bring multiple members up there, and it works out beautifully. Really nice from Akers, playing alongside Tweak. Faulty should just about be able to get away. Needed to land that charm, otherwise he would well have been dead. But it's beyond just being useful because you get that early kill. Getting that early Scuttle Crab, getting yourself closer to that upgraded Smite, going to be critical. Getting yourself to that level 6 as well. You're now so much further ahead, and it just buys your team a little bit of extra time before they even have to start worrying about the Grand Starfall.
Yeah, it absolutely does. We could see the issue with not having any mana in your build for Faulty. Runs himself low, has to back away. No teleport up again once as well. Bear Tree actually opting for the Ghost in mid lane, so it's more of a combat summoner. Doesn't feel like he needs the teleport to stay comfortable and topped up in lane, which is absolutely true. Faulty's the one on the back foot right now. Is going to be able to leverage that ultimate at some stage perhaps, but the lane is going to be more or less cut and dry at this stage. So Broad, they've got a successful pick on the top side, and we're looking to see maybe what Akers can do with this rel as we go forward. As in terms of not, you mentioned the non-committal engage that they have, which is Melty. They've certainly got committal engage. They've certainly got a lot of committal engage, all on rel. This champion is just one big committal engage button. And Akers with this roll top to support. We are expecting to see some big engagement plays. Tends to be the easier transferal of skill into that support role. And we'll see if Akers can lead the team to a victory here today.
May well have to use his skills right here if you want to try to compete for this Drake. It doesn't really look like Broad think they're going to be able to, and this should just be taken away by Bulldog. They really do need to get themselves onto these objectives as quickly as possible. As much as both of these team compositions have bits and pieces that can scale pretty well into the later stages of the game, I really do feel like Bulldog needs the early advantage to make it any of their game plan really work for themselves. Specifically on the Pantheon and the Ahri, these two champions from behind, they feel pretty miserable to try to get going.
Yeah, if you're left on Pantheon and you're trying to find an opportunity to ult in or to flash W in when you're heavily down in gold, you kind of end up feeling like, like the engaged support, like the Nautilus, who has to just keep throwing out the hook. He knows he's going to die if he hits it, but that's all his champion does, really, and he's only got one choice. He has to just go for it. So hopefully they can stay even enough to make those engages that they choose, not ones they feel like they have to make. And we have another rotation from Akers up towards the mid lane right here. There is a Grubs camp they might now want to play for, but looks like they're seeing if they can snag a kill first.
I mean, yeah, right now it's a very aggressive step forwards is out of Bear Trees, looking if he could draw somebody in, and yep, they're going to be able to find someone.
They've got Magpie on the rotation right here. Faulty can try and step forward to give him something to W2, but it's very dangerous, and he's yanked back by Tweak. Bear Tree this time, picking up the credit off the Mel passive execute, and that should be us done and dusted. Oh, he's got he's still got the ultimate, and down comes the tactical nuke. It's a double kill.
Very, very easily done right there from Brod, and this was something we've been talking about. It was a brilliant job on the desk as well, highlighting that this Brod team, they know each other very well. They have a lot of experience together as a unit, and they're just using that to take over the beginnings of this game. Yeah, you lose out on that early Drake, but being able to pick themselves up these Grubs, it's going to be very useful, especially with a composition that can side lane so effectively.
Yes, yeah, with Gwen, with Zahen, like, even the jungler can just decide to sack off the camps and start pushing a side wave. To be honest, he's going to be very, very hard to deal with Tweak getting this early gold. Sin getting a little bit chunked out and is currently on his own. Aka's trying to get back, but can he get there in time? A Valkyrie to safety and a heal as well. Stun comes through from the Realm.
They can turn this.
Now comes Mel around the corner. He's going to get blocked up by Magpie. The ultimate committed. Double knockup. Already one goes down for Broad, but Yastra manages to find one. Sin dropping as Bear Tree without the ultimate still can get them in execute range if he has room for one more Q. Doesn't connect the solar snare. Needs the autos to get the execution proc and won't find it. Deflects Ionara slow, but that's 1-for-1 at the end.
God, if the Golden Eclipse was up right there, would have very easily been a triple kill. Yeah, absolutely. But as it stands, it is going to be Bulldog grabbing themselves their first kill of the game. And in terms of places for that first kill to go, you're not going to be mad at all with it sitting on top of the Ionara. Yastrom is going to be able to carry this game, needs that early injection of gold to really kickstart things. We've been talking a lot about the changes that have been made coming into this new split, and how strong the bot laners are is a massive part of that. The Ionara has been one of the highest pick priority champions. That and the Varus have been all over your screens if you've been watching competitive, and for good reason. This champion is just absolutely disgusting right now.
Yeah, a very classical AD carry, gives the AD, the bot laners room to flex their mechanical skill and rewards them very, very highly for it. Can be very self-sufficient once the ult is procced later on in the game. Devastating with these new items like Fiend Hunter bolts, giving her additional value on the Transcendence as well. So yeah, this is a very, very big threat, and Yastrom is, as we said, needs to be a threat for Bulldog for this comp to work. Someone's got to deal with Gwen, with Zahen, and I think that has to be Yastrom, so they've got to give him as much gold as possible, as Bear Tree may be under threat right here, but again, you can't just throw out the charm, and here comes the counterplay into a double root, and it's just curtains for Bulldog in mid lane. They dared to even consider a play and have it thrown back in their face.
And when we were talking about this draft behind the scenes, watching it happen, we were talking about, hey, maybe there's chances here for Bulldog as long as there's not this massive skill gap happening. And so far, unfortunately, Mel into Ahri, it's a good matchup for the Mel, and it has just been Bear Tree taking over so far. 4-0-2, already has that Ludus completed. He is hitting like a tac nuke, as you said, and now he's going to have himself pretty much an entire mid lane turret worth of plates in inventory too. He is well and truly set up to carry this game.
Yeah, with the way that Mel has been redesigned, you get even more reward for stacking that early AP so heavily. Before, Blackfire Torch was just the go-to because of the way it kept your passive stacked up for longer. But now, especially when you're ahead, with the amount of front-loaded damage he has, Ludens is absolutely huge to just make sure you're one-shotting people, and you can start snowballing games incredibly quickly with this pick, especially against the team without any real tanks, let's be honest. It's kind of just Braum and maybe Gragas if he decides to build HP, which nobody does, so he's going to be one-shotting almost anybody he catches.
I mean, it's 3 pseudo-tanks pretty much, right? Your Gragas can be tanky depending on the build and how things go. Faulty should be okay, just gonna pop the ulti and walk away from this one. One Q! Absolutely disgusting. And this is also Faulty right here with the Malignants in inventory, so he's gonna have a lot of ultis, but the actual damage that you really do isn't gonna be that high. Nothing compared with the Mel. This early game has begun to slip away from Bulldog, and they're gonna have to pull it back. We've obviously got a Drake up at the bottom side of the map right now. A bit of an engage happening as well. Isn't quite going to land.
Yeah, it seems like Broad are really trying to leverage this Akers support rel to get as much started as possible around bot lane and mid. They're playing off his engages very consistently. The only other real kind of driver for them has just been Bear Tree's dominance over the mid lane. He's actually he's approaching just taking the mid lane tower before 14 minutes block, so this is a bit insane.
Yeah.
You know, top lane has just been very chilled out. Wormsoil has been pushing in Aniki generally, and we can see he's taking good trades, but you can never really find the kill on the Gwen in this matchup without a pretty major misstep, and we got used to Aniki last split being one of our most you know, proficient top laners. He was a new name to the league at that point and very quickly became known on that Rise roster as someone to watch, and we're expecting to see the continuation of that here on Broad.
Yeah, right now hasn't been called upon to do too much in this game, but that always worries me. Whenever the Gwen's been able to just sit in a side lane, farm up, already has that first item completed. Once you join in, should be in a very strong position, especially into Wormsaw, who hasn't been able to complete that first item yet, is a little bit further behind as well, and it is just potentially going to be quite rough once we get into these bigger team fights coming up. We've got a little while until the next big objectives will be joining us, so we do have a little bit of reprieve for Bulldog where they can try to farm up, but none of their lanes have really come through for them. You're getting pushed in top, pushed in mid lane, as we expected, so the bot lane could potentially have been interesting, but Pivot just hasn't been able to get anything going at all.
Yeah, we do still at least see we've got Yastrom ahead on inventory. He's got the Kraken and a bit of extra crit stacking up before the Triforce for Corki. You know, Corki has a very vicious 1 and 2 item spike in terms of damage, but it is an expensive build to come through with getting a tier into your Triforce, as that first turret does fall down. More gold in the pocket of Broad and Friends, but for now, Yunara is a little bit stronger and is going to become very, very strong later. Wormsoul commits the ultimate onto Aniki, but again, we're probably not killing this one, and they just kind of awkwardly walk away from each other.
Part of what we were talking about with these teams as well was the potential lack of engage, but if you've got a lot of gold, that can make up for it for Broad, whereas for Bulldog being behind here, yeah, you've got yourself a couple of different ways to go in, you're fishing for charms, but if you land that, do you actually have the damage available to you right now to be able to rip through your opponents? Yevstrom probably does, but still, you're waiting on the 2-3 items to really be strong. That can just happen. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you can just caught by 1 EQ and your game's over. Sin is going to step forward, Beartree picks up the double, another root's coming through, it's about to be a triple unless Faulty can get away. The flash, just about dodged by an Ahri. Spirit Rush is now Duppy trying to get into range. Remember that Ghost is doing a bit of work, doesn't quite have a reflect, can't block the charm, might just be able to get into range for another Q. Tags him but cannot find the kill, but it's another masterclass from the Male, and Broad just keep on stacking wins.
And now the bot lane that was looking pretty good is going to completely flip on its head as well. You're now going to be able to grab a bunch of turret plates as Sin get himself into a very strong position, and this is the problem with letting a Mel get ahead. This champion completely takes over the game and just has such good roam ability. With how quickly you're able to clear waves at this point, the second that the Luders is completed, you're one-tapping waves, you can just push, walk away.
He may be finally caught here. There's a flash in, traded by the Gwen, and now Tweak's trying to get in range to assist. Pivolt wants to get in there for an executing Comet Spear. There it is, the Pantheon gets on the board for the jungle, but now Tweak has a 1 versus 2 that he can probably win if they force the issue. Wormsoul's just going to piece out of there, and it's going to be 1 for 1.
It's quite sad watching Wormsoul just be like, yep, nope, there's nothing I can do.
You.
It's either we die or you die. It is the sensible option to walk away. Sin trying to go for a bit of a 1v1 right here. He's going to be able to stand up to it. Now gets Akers back to join him. Loses a good chunk of his HP though.
Yeah, Yastrom's definitely still able to out DPS him, and Akers had to come in to support that Corki's endeavor. Does now have the Triforce completed and is almost done with that Mana Moon, which will be transforming very shortly after as well. So Sin is going to start hitting a power spike. Now we have a TP behind Wormsoil with basically no mana to speak of and no flash. So how's he going to sneak his way out of this one? He's going to run slap bang into Aniki around the corner. Has enough for 1 body slam. Is it enough to get him out of dodge? Out comes the needlework. The slows are coming through, and that's just a done deal. Aniki gets the revenge on Gragas.
It's going to be 10-2 the score right here. More importantly, 6,000 gold the advantage. Sorry, let me talk again. 7,000 gold the advantage right here for Broad as they're able to pick themselves up a kill in the bottom lane as well. Now the remaining members need to be careful. They could be dove here.
Yeah, notable that Mel has gone into the Medjais as well, which is 14 stacked up. So this
I mean,
AP
why
ratio
not at this point?
Is going to be sky high at this point. Another turret falls, and there's a massive shutdown on the table for Bulldog. If they could only get a hold of it, like, you need to bait out the W critically. He is currently without summoners. If there's a way for Pantheon, Ahri, and Brom to get on top of the Mel and just get through that W, have enough CC to waste it, then maybe there's a lot of gold on the table. Yazstrom would certainly love that right now. However, it's really going to rely on Bear Tree, I think, making a bit of a positioning error. Mel can play from range very easily by the nature of the champion, so this does again just highlight the difficulty that Bulldog has. It's going to have to be a flank or nothing. Now, Akers might be a little caught right here. Brom's looking for the stun, does manage to crash down to safety, gets a double stun of his own, and now Tweak and Sin are pumping up the damage, and Mel's round the corner, catches out Yazstrom, and there's just no more to be said. A charm lands onto Tweak, but he's not going to take more than half. He backs away, and Mel's been working on that mid lane turret, and it's another pick on the side of Broad.
And now you just got to pull out right here, Tweak. Just gonna have the ulti over the wall, is going to be able to walk away. And despite the mispositioning, it's just going to be Broad picking themselves up another kill. Pivotal just going to go down.
Yeah, he ulted into the side, maybe hoping that they'd get a connection off that body slam from Gragas, and he could come in for a flank, but ultimately, it's just not to be. A lovely ult dodge from Tweak as well. Means that Pivotal just left in the lurch once again. It's going to be Broad moving onto the Dragon, second of the game. It's not going to be a soul point just yet. But with 7.5 gold in the pocket, 7.5k gold, I should say, they're still pretty happy with how this game is going so far.
Nothing really to worry them at this point in the game. 20 seconds until the Baron is going to be joining us on the Rift. There is some pretty decent wave clear available to Bulldog Academy, so they do very much want this Baron to be able to crack open these towers, get over the fact that while they have a lot of tower damage, it is going to be a lot more short ranged. With a Baron in inventory, though, they will be able to just rip on through these towers, so that's going to be the next big objective for them. For Bulldog, I mean, I'm not saying this game is done, but they're going to have to change their fortunes very drastically if they want any hope of winning. A pick could be the potential look. We keep talking about it, right? Where's the Grand Starfall onto the side lanes? We just haven't seen it so far. It's never up for Pivotal. Every time I check, oh, can he go for an ult right now? No, it's down. But he's not been finding that big engage yet.
Yeah, there was moderate success with the one time it landed on top side. Of course, it ended up as a 1-for-1, but at this point, you'll take an even trade when you're this far down in gold. We just haven't seen the opportunities be presenting themselves. Broad are the ones making the plays. As another EQ lands, and Auto does do enough damage. I thought it wouldn't be quite enough, but just about nails it. The Shadow Flame execution damage, getting it over the line, and the Bear Tree is just legendary.
And that's going to be a 20-stack Medjai's in inventory right now. There's almost nothing you can do to stand up to that damage. Pivotal having to flash away from his own Krugs right here. And that's even with his friends in the jungle too. This is horrible to watch.
Pantheon Shield thankfully absorbing much of the damage from another route onto Pivotal, but the Herald's going to get another charge in top lane. Broad keeping the pace high, as we said, wanting to set that record straight from the unfortunate slip up against Bulldog in last split. And the last split was Broad's split to win. They are defending champions right now, and even a resurgent Bulldog are struggling against the power that is being wielded against them. They will have another game after this one to try and set a different record, but if we're being brutally honest, Bloxer, we're probably looking forward to the next one at this stage. It's pretty hard to find a way back in, unless you're Worm Soil, of course, who manages to displace the Mel. Kakachi's trying to get into range, sit over the wall covering. He doesn't
there's no way.
Shut down.
No
but
way.
Someone's got to take it. Yazstrom wants it. Worm Soil eventually takes the credit and goes down, and now Yunara's been left. All of his team was dying, waiting to leave the Mel shutdown.
Oh my lord, I mean, you had to give the gold over to a key member, but at the same time, I don't even know that they could get close enough to Bear Tree to try to take him out. Only Yazstrom over the wall able to, and it's still going to result in 4 deaths and the Baron going on over. It's just Lonely Faulty down on the bottom side of the map, trying to push towards a tier 1 tower. Yeah, I mean, you said it might just be game 2. I think we are looking at game 2.
It was a bit of a tragedy watching the first real pick of the game for Bulldog unfold. They got it on the exact perfect target, but they couldn't quite get it over the line in the way that they wanted. You don't want to waste 1,000 gold like that on a Braum, I fully understand, but ultimately it gives him time to get another rotation off, and the Mel damage is just so massive. And the fight falls apart for Bulldog after that. Admittedly, even after taking out the Mel, you've still got the entire rest of Broad, who are far from weak to deal with.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was a good attempt from Bulldog. If they can find a couple more of those, we've still got no summoners on Mel. There's plenty more shutdowns still to be found on many of these players, so there's a little bit of hope just yet.
Now, with the Baron available, all of those pushing problems that that Brod had is going to go away. They've been able to grab themselves the mid lane tier 2. This bot lane tier 2 going to fall as well. Only the top lane really going to be a last bastion for them. And even then, even with all of the wave clear you have available as Bulldog, can you even step up close enough? There is the ever-present threat of this Mel just constantly looming.
You've got to be so careful. One solar snare and it's going to be lights out for you if you get caught by that root. Sin and Akra stepping up to punish this tower and pushing Astrum and Magpie back. Now Faulty looking for a potential flank that has to stay at range. Wormsoil as well. In goes Pivold onto the backline. Now can we find someone important? Sin's already gone down and they found the Mel. They need to get the Brom stun. This is going to be a second kill. Another shutdown. Bulldog have cracked through the Brod and Friends push. They need to get as much as they can right now. There's a dragon they can find. Beautiful charm from Faulty at max range. Tries to knock down Tweak and it's another big shutdown. Yes, there's still 10,000 gold down, Bloxer, but imagine how far behind they were just a second ago.
Exactly, and now you can push on through into the mid lane. Tons of this crystalline growth on the tower as well means that they should make short work of this objective. With all the bounties available, this is a ton of gold getting back in. They can keep playing.
They need to just keep the momentum here. If they can keep stringing these death timers together, Bloxer, they could get a lot more on the map. Akers, though, gets knocked by a charm, slowed down by a barrel as well, but he's tanky enough to survive it. And that will be the end of the play. Bulldog will have to settle for the mountain of gold they found. They might like to steal away this dragon as well. It's not a soul point for Brod, but they'd love to keep that soul threat off the table for just a little longer.
Time is going to be something they need to just try to get back to parity. Still, look in the inventories of the Brod members. There are 4 needlessly large rods. That's going to be 2 death caps incoming, and that may well just be the extra tick of damage needed to completely take over this game. For Brod, that is some mispositioning twice. Yes, you haven't really been shown by Bulldog that they knew how to pull the trigger on this composition before, but they have clearly figured that back out at this point in the game, and it's now multiple times that Bear Tree, despite all of his gold available to him, all of the damage that this champion can do, being caught just apart from his team, away from everybody else. And yeah, you do lots of damage, but the Mel is still ridiculously squishy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of my most controversial league takes is I like Mel. I think she's cool. I like playing her, as we see another attempt by Bulldog, and actually Wormsoil's going to get yanked back. Akers dropping the Magnet Storm, keeps this Gragas locked down, and there's an execute if needed, but Tweak's going to pick it up. Bulldog struggling inside their base. They need to keep Yastrom alive. They've got a route onto Aniki. He stretches too far, and Pivold just traded on the other side. Charm lands onto Tweak. Now Mel ghosting in. Knows that if he gets the right snares, he could win the game, but they're going to have to turn back the turrets instead.
And not quite going to be able to push to end the game right here. Still is going to be the mid lane inhibitor down. Top lane inhibitor as well could be the next target. You've got 30 seconds until your top and jungler are going to be back for Bulldog.
Hikachi steps forward, absorbs the solar snare and pushes off Brod. Holds on to that top tower.
Okay.
Pretty important as both the other inhibs are down. So Brod are once again be rebuffed. They're not going to push their luck this time, but to finish the point before that I was mentioning, where I'm not just saying I like Mel and that was the whole context, the point is that people who don't know how this champion works or haven't played against it that much or are blinded by rage by the champion's design think that you can't catch this champ, that you can't kill her because she has an invulnerability, so it's impossible to punish. It's not true. It's one button, it's on a long cooldown, and they made it worse on this patch. If you have 2 people next to her, not just one, she can only block one of them. And you can...
there's tons of champions that completely don't care about the invulnerability at all. A Nautilus doesn't care, chuck a couple things out. A Vi doesn't care, chuck a couple different things out. Alistair too. There's a ton of different champions that just do not care. Yes, if you are an Ahri and just an Ahri, it's miserable. You can't play that matchup. But there's lots of champions that are bad into 1 or 2 specific matchups. I am of the opinion too that I like Mel. As a Warwick player, I don't care. You can't reflect me as the Warwick.
What's she gonna do?
Exactly, it doesn't matter. You just have to be coordinated as a team, and I think that's the tricky thing, right? In solo queue, I get it. It's terrible to try to be coordinated, but teams that have comms are talking to each other just need to be that little bit extra mindful when there's a Mel in the game, and you can catch this champion out. We've now seen it twice out of Bulldog. They have proven to us that they can do it. They just need to replicate this a couple more times.
Yeah, and if Riot really weren't cowards, they would make it so you could reflect Warwick. As down goes Mel again, that's a solo kill. Bear Tree just died 1 versus 1 versus Wormsoul. Well, he had to commit his flash, but we'll take that for sure. This is another big threat off the table, and Brod are starting to come apart right now. They're trying to escape from Bulldog Academy. It looks like they will just be able to to get out of the reach of Magpie's stun passive there, but this is another delay on the game. It's more gold into Bulldog, and Wormsol, the guy who hasn't really had much room to do anything in this game into the Gwen lane, is starting to really make himself known.
Now at this point, right, with the Storm Surge in inventory, you do a buttload of damage. He just has to be able to land it onto a key member, and absolutely does right there. That 20 stack Medjai's down to 3 as well, so that's so much extra power out of this Mel just taken away. This, though, is very aggressive from Bulldog, trying to steal a Baron straight out from under their opponent's noses. They are going to be forced to back off, but they may get themselves a little bit caught. Faulty arriving should at least provide a path back out again.
Faulty does get a charm onto Aniki. He's in the mist right now. And Akers with a lovely Magnet Storm completely stifles the engage. And Sin, quiet all game, finally is ready to get this Corki damage down. Triple kill completed. Quadra kill, in fact, for Sin on this AD carry. And Broad will get their feet back under them. They'll shake off the nerves, complete the ace, and they'll take game 1.
I felt like the comeback was potentially on. Beartree was even dead at that point in the game, but Akers straight on down from the top lane into the support role, and he makes it work. What a beautiful engage right there on the Rel to send Broad to 1-0.
Absolutely, Governor and the rest are going to be breathing a sigh of relief in the chat, because that was getting a little bit hairy for Broad and Friends. And I think what we can say is, yes, undoubtedly, the individual player skill is very, very high. We knew this from the get-go, but there are some holes in this gameplay. There's a little bit of complacency there, a little bit of sloppiness in some of these pushes, and Bulldog Academy, as we said, cannot be underestimated. They cannot be forgotten. You can't assume the game is done before the Nexus explodes, Blogzer.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that was a couple different times where Beartree was just stood way too far forwards. As the person with all of your gold for your team right on top of your head, that's super bad. That was giving over a ton of shutdowns. You said it. It was 1,000 gold shutdown. Yeah, it went into the support, but you don't actually really care at that point. Any amount of gold into your inventories is good, and it felt like there was potentially that comeback on, but it gets snapped in half right there. Still, I think as Bulldog, it's back to the drawing board, specifically in mid lane, not for the later stages of the game. It's just you need a matchup where you don't get kicked in early on. I mean, as Faulty, that had to have been horrible. The first 15 minutes, he didn't get to play the game at all.
No, the Mel matchup into Ahri is just, it's unplayable, I'll be honest. It's an unplayable lane matchup. It's absolutely horrible. And we saw that Faulty, once we got a couple of fights where Mel wasn't there, he was landing some charms, he was making some plays, he was doing some good stuff. He's certainly still alive on this pick, but ultimately the draft did completely shut him out of large this game. And Pivolge as well, as you mentioned, really felt like he just couldn't find an opening, couldn't really find an avenue to try and get this Pantheon rolling, and always just wound up ulting in and going, well, I'm here now. Do we have a play? And the answer was generally no. That kind of bot lane catch that broke them back in for a second was the one real success, but it was a great job by Broad just not to leave the window open for him.
Yeah, you just have to constantly be watching where a Pantheon is the second that level 6 gets ticked. As long as you're cognizant of that, it can be tricky to play still. I would like to see some extra aggression out of Pivolge, and obviously, it's not Fearless. These are 2 best of ones back-to-back, so if you want to go for the Pantheon again, extra aggression. If not, I think there's a ton of champions that fit really well into his wheelhouse that you can go towards, the Jarvins, the Xin Zhaos of the world, where you also have to play aggressive, but if you do, the rewards can be there.
Yeah, they absolutely can. So Bulldog with a little bit of glimmer of hope right there at the end. Couldn't get them that first game win, but let's toss it back to the desk to break down that first game just a little bit more and tee us up for the second.
Thank you, Trajan. What a game that was. Dominant showing overall from Broad and Friends, but there were some points of light for Bulldog Academy, weren't there, Rory?
Well, you see, when you're watching Broad and Friends, you've always got to be prepared for the one play that makes you go, oh no, they're throwing it. They're going to throw it. And then, like, they do bring it back, but they're real showmans in the way that, like, they can pull you from relaxed to the edge of your seat almost immediately out of nothing. And I kind of respect it, and I kind of go, please, can you just fix these issues? They've been plaguing you for years. But what wasn't an issue in any way, well, apart from that one death, was this absolute destruction from Mel. Like, Beartree piloted it so well, and an excellent counterpick into Faulty's Ahri, which I'm sure they prepped. Looking back at previous matches, they've gone, when Faulty gets banned out, what does he default to? And they can kind of pre-prep their draft around that.
So what I'm hearing is the fact that Brod is the new Fnatic, Rory.
No, because I actually support Broad, and they don't actually let me down every time they're close to a finals. Because every time I've had hope for Fnatic, they've disappointed me every single
This was
time.
a difference maker.
We haven't got anything since 2017. I've been false hoping every single season. Let's skip that one.
There was rage built in me, and I'm sorry, you weren't prepared for that to come.
No, I'm in the exact same seat as you. I get so ready. I'm like, yes, we've got Poby. Awesome, let's go Worlds. And then Oscar Rinin runs it down once again. So, no. But I get what you mean by being on the edge of your seat. I most definitely was with that situation with the Mel. I saw some ults by the Pantheon. I was a bit like scratching my head. I'm thinking, what's he doing? He's ulted in. He's got no team to play with him. It might be free for Broad. And then I'm seeing some players where it's like, they're overextending a little, and then that's a fight gone, and it's a bit like, what's going on?
Yeah, it was a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Broad and Friends, they do keep getting away with it. I guess that is the biggest difference here between Broad and Friends and Fnatic. Broad and Friends get away with their little fuck ups, and
small difference.
Fnatic don't. Yeah, maybe the league they're playing in, maybe it's the level. Who knows? There's quite a few more differences, of course, but that just doesn't build a story quite the same way now, does it?
No.
What do we want to see for next game?
Hopefully Pivolge does something in the early game, because every time he tried to go for an invade, it was when camp's already down, and he was slowly just losing CS across the map, which was really rough. He was playing Pantheon, but he was getting out-ganked by a Zahen, which feels really weird to me. But, you know, sometimes your lanes that you expect to be stomping, you just can't get any workaround. But, like, come on. Like, your bot was actually doing really well in the early game. Like, you could have at least attempted to tower dive when you were like, well, I'm here anyway. Like, you got a bit of poke down, but it didn't really lead to anything.
Very true. Last takeaway, Evan, before we go to the break.
I don't know. B1's Zahen again. It's so OP. Not to pick it.
Strong one to end it on. All right, we'll toss it to a break here. We'll see you on the other side for game number 2. Don't go anywhere. Yes, we're back. We're in. Hello, welcome. From this very short break, tossed to a very short break again, and now we are finally back for game number 2 between Broad and Friends and Bulldog Academy. Yeah, we saw quite a dominant performance from Broad and Friends, but spots of light for Bulldog Academy. Maybe we don't leave Zahen open this time around.
I don't even think Zion was the direct problem. Like, Evan, I know you're saying that he's really strong, but I don't think he was the issue that game. I think if Zion isn't allowed to stroll in and get a double kill at 10 minutes, it's actually a fine matchup for Pantheon. But Fella went on a walk to the shops and was given a gold bar. Like, what's there to expect in terms of balance or how strong a champ is in the current game? Like, he was massive because he was allowed to be.
Yeah, literally a leisurely stroll through the park because, I don't know. I mean, it would have been nice to see the side of Bulldog be a bit more, like, proactive in their ways. I mean, they can push in that bot tower, and as you said, Rory, they could have gone for a dive. They potentially could have gone with some poke with Pantheon, even or applied some pressure in that instance. But that is something I'm looking to see more this game. They did have some good global ult stat circumstance, but, like, the way they were using it just wasn't up to par.
Also, what I found a bit weird was, like, Anarchy was on Gwen last game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure they first banned Mundo last game. It's like, if you're picking Gwen, you don't need to ban Mundo because you're pretty solid laning. But...
Yeah, it might be a...
Oh, they swapped.
It might be a...
Okay. I think bans are swapped right now, which would make a lot more
yes,
sense.
This is what I'm just checking with production right now.
I was going to say, it might be a fake ban to try get them to pick something that would be good into Gwen, maybe? Yeah. I don't know. But, like, I think I'm more leaning towards the side that they're now swapped.
Yeah, okay, so just pretend the sides are flipped right now, because obviously you can guess the team that's banning Heimerdinger and Nico is not going to be the team with the player who plays Heimerdinger and Nico.
I think we should see it as... The top section is correct. Broad and Friends is currently on red side, Bulldog Academy on blue side, and it's just the player names that should be on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from,
we're gonna see first pick Yunara. Yeah, you're right.
This is all strange. Okay, so yeah, that's a Yunara first pick for Yastrom, and was once again seeing the Zahen hovered. I know someone on this desk is very excited about that as it gets locked
in. It's just how it is, man. It's so OP in jungle right now. Yeah. And especially if you're allowed to go on a leisurely walk around your own jungle and then, you know, when Pivot wants to invade you and none of your camps are up because you've taken them all, it sounds like a good deal to me. Why wouldn't you pick it second game?
Yeah. Or are they going to take the Ahri away? They are. I like that. Ahri was hovered as a first pick. They decided to go for the Yunara. Yunara did all right. Ahri being picked up here. Are they going to pick the Mel themselves now?
Well, Mel's banned. So
you're absolutely right.
That would be difficult to do. But like the Yunara first pick, I'm not surprised. She's probably the strongest champion in the meta right now. I know there's a bit of actually, it's Varus conversations going along, but after the nerfs, Varus doesn't have as much, I don't like lethality Varus that much anymore after the nerfs, and AP Varus has now fallen off. So his build diversity, you can really draft around, or against even.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, relatively, it's only going to be on hit, right? With Varus now, because, as you said, the lethality build has kind of gone towards more in the bin. I mean, coming out with the Yunara again for Bulldog Academy is not something I'm typically surprised with. We're going to be going Orianna Skarner.
So I'm a big fan of Skarner right now, because you go Protoplasm Harness first. You say, you know what? I think Heartsteel is a bad item because it is a bad item. I'm going Protoplasm Harness first. I go in, the moment I drop play, I get Tenacity and Healing. And it's such a good rush item. So I really want to see that coming out today. Overall, I also think he's a really strong champ in the meta.
Yeah. would make more sense. I'm quite happy to see the Kai'Sa coming out by the side of Bron and Friends just to get some of that potentially more mixed damage. We may be seeing kind of like a Dusk and Dawn angle come from the Kai'Sa more towards to deal with this Skarner, as you said, rushing Protoplasm. He's going to be a tanky boy, but seeing the support band come out from Bron and Friends on that Braum isn't too surprising, as Yanara Braum, very deadly.
Lulu banned as well. Do not want to face the Gwen again. No surprises that they are going to ban that out.
I mean, with the double support ban, they're trying to take away all the leniency that they can with this Yunara in the bot lane. We may be looking towards something more with Peel now, relatively, equally with a little bit of that snapping gauge. They might be looking towards something like a Rel, maybe, or something like a Leona, seeing as they equally have that kind of snap peel to them. Maybe even a Fresh. I mean, it's not that common nowadays, especially with this team comp, but Alistar picked towards the side of
I was going to say, with
Friends.
a dive comp, I was thinking Alistair or Rakan was probably coming in
Rakan.
here. So Rakan would be the answer classically. Has the healing and protection and just the distance he can cover to get away from a dive comp like this is really effective. So yeah, that's locked in for Magpie now. So looking for this top lane pick for Wormsoil, I thought the Gregus was fine laning-wise. We didn't get to see much of him in teamfights because teamfights were so one-sided in the last game.
Yeah. Got a few good ultimates. He got the solo kill on...
He did.
On Bear Tree as well, so... I wouldn't mind seeing it again, but... Ooh... Olaf.
Okay, so Wormsoil, if I remember correctly, picked Olaf in game 2 last week. It did pretty well. I thought the comp as a whole was a bit messy, but I thought the Olaf worked fine. Olaf kind of gets blown up by high damage champions, though. So yeah, if we're seeing an Olaf trying to run into a Kai'Sa, Ahri, and Bessa, I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Because they just shred him before he can really get any work done.
I mean, it would be good to get rid of stuff like Ahri Charm, maybe Ambessa are when they try to look for that dive potentially. But as soon as you said he tries to go in there, his sustainability just isn't going to be on par when it comes to stuff like Kai'Sa mixed damage. Zaheen potentially has all of that sustain when it comes to big fights. Like in Skarner, the thing is, Zaheen, I'm loving life right now, right? But like when you're Olaf trying to play into that, it's just going to be kind of one and done in a way.
Essentially just has to stomp lane. Otherwise, I don't really see how this Olaf can be relevant.
Yeah. No. Olaf needs to get ahead and look for creative angles to try and get backline access. But I think even if he gets backline access, as you say, like this is a high damage comp he needs to play into. Ahri being also quite hard to catch. This is a tough game. But maybe he likes a challenge. Who knows?
Well, you think this is like I need to challenge myself because I get too bored if I pick the good champions.
Yeah, you get too bored if you pick Mel, right? So
I don't know.
We will see. We will see. Now, something this game I'm quite excited to see is build pathing. Now, I think you have so much versatility compared to other champs like Varus, right? But I want to think this game, stuff like Rakan, you have so much like options you can go. You can go Protoplasm if you want to be more of a bit of a frontlining for the side of Bulldog Academy. You can go something like Zeke into Echoes of Helia into Bandle Pipes if you want to be kind of more like skirmishy team fighty. I want to see how they're going to be able to adapt their kind of team comp to probably sustain themselves against Bottom Friends.
I'd imagine it's something like a Bandle Pipes into, I don't know, Locket or Redemption, and then maybe a McHale's, depending on how well the game's going or not. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, supports are eating pretty well right now.
Yeah,
like, I feel like there's a good item for every support, like up to 4 items right now. There's not one that you kind of feel a bit rubbish about buying, which is like been quite an important thing for supports, because I feel in previous seasons you get to a point where you're like, I don't want to build Ardent, but it's the only good option here, and I only have one attacking champion on my team. But oh well, I guess I'm stuck here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very intrigued to see how it is, right? Because Alistar's very one-dimensional in the way that they're going to play this, right? Once that Ambessa R goes, that first, that slap, pull the trigger kind of, Alistar's in there and he can't get out again. So it's going to be like, what do you kind of do with that situation?
Well, I think we don't have to wait very long to find out what they're going to do if they end up in such a situation, because it does it to our casters, Trajan and Bloxer. Take it away and enjoy.
Thank you, JoyK. It's time for game number 2, Bloxer, and we were talking about this. It kind of feels like a fairly similar draft dynamic. Bulldog's got tools. We need to see them use them.
Yep.
And Broad, again, are maybe lacking in consistent ways to start plays. The only one, once again, is kind of Akers. If he's got Flash, he can get something going. But besides that, we're a little light on consistent buttons. But it didn't really stop them in game 1. So I'm not going to be too mad at them.
It did not, and also you've now got an Ahri who doesn't have to worry about a Mel Reflect going on, right? We saw previously as well that you can just pull people in so well with that Zehen. It's not consistent, Engage, it really isn't, but at the same time, it didn't feel like that was the big storyline of Game 1. The storyline of Game 1 was the laning phase. It was what happened specifically in the mid lane. Beartree got way too far ahead and just made that everybody else's problem. In an Orianna versus Ahri matchup, nobody should get that far ahead. This is not a bad matchup for either of these two. You sit, you chill, you get your farm, you go roam around the rest of the map and see what you can do. And that should put Bulldog into a much better position.
Yeah, Faulty now, or Beartree, I should say, now on the Ahri and can actually use Charm as a defensive mechanism if Faulty tries to run at him. So it was not really available for Faulty last game, but we might see Beartree see what he can do with this champion. It was a while since until we saw Faulty get online with the Ahri, generally relying on Mel not being there, but we'll see what Beartree can do instead. The Skarner Orianna ball delivery combo is pretty scary, I will say. Rory had been mentioning before we went live that he wanted to see if the Skarner was going to come up, and I'll be honest, I didn't believe it, but my man was right. Got it in the second game of the day, so props to him.
Knew it. He knew it was coming, and there's a couple different fun ball delivery systems right here as well. The Rakan Orianna, always one of those combos that you can try to rely on. I think they do have that significantly more reliable engage. I think it's also interesting that you talk about potentially being able to use the Charm as that defensive tool, because, hey, if you've got an Olaf running at you, no you can't. There's absolutely nothing that you can do in that situation. You will just get chased down. If Bulldog can get themselves ahead in this game, I think they've got a very scary composition that can keep going on. The thing is, if Broad get even slightly any kind of lead, the same thing is just going to happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm very excited to see this Wormsoul Olaf. I think we've seen it from once before, and given that we did start to see him finding openings in Broad last game, even when they were vast mountains of gold behind, he was able to find a solo kill onto Male. He was able to find some of those key plays to break them back in. Now he's got the Olaf, which is something that he can dominate in. He found it very hard to break Iniki last game, but you can see he's gone for the Ghost Flash. He's playing for the lane. He is going to be a very real threat at that early stage, and if last game was about mid game, maybe Wormsoul can make this one about top lane.
Hey, if it can turn into a big top lane game, I think that will be very exciting for both of us watching. I don't even mind which way around it is, if it's Wormsoul popping off on this Olaf, if it is the Ambessa for Iniki popping off. Either of those can be very, very exciting. For right now, we'll have a quick check-in on where it is these junglers are going to be starting. It looks like bot lane starts for both, so potentially thinking along the same lines that we are, the top lane could be where it's at.
Yes, we do have a both bottom side seeds, so both of them may be worried about how that top lane is going to affect the rest of the game, as Magpie did have vision advantage onto Akers there, and used it to get an early dash in, took a fair amount of damage himself. Of course, once he gets that Gleaming Quill, we'll be able to heal himself and his AD carry up a little bit and take some aggressive trades. We can see Wormsoul already getting stuck in with the Undertows. Such is the standard life for the Olaf, and Iniki just has to back away.
The Olaf had a good matchup into either the Ambessa or the Zehen, so it could have been either one. I think it's just that little bit of extra comfort right here, tweak on this Zehen. And as the disc was talking about earlier, right, the Zehen is incredibly strong at the moment.
Good.
Yeah, we didn't even see it have to, like, pop off, really, in the previous game. There was not that big, oh my god, you've killed him once and he's back and you have to kill him again, because you didn't really need it. Beartree was just ripping people's heads off, but in a game here where maybe things will be a little bit closer, it very much could be the turning point.
Yeah, very true. I like the fact that he's gone for the electrocute ignite as well. He's going for kills. He is going for a violation lane, as we saw last time as well, Faulty with the TP, and does at least have a much more playable matchup. As we can see, he can chunk out Ahri if the space is not managed properly. But we'll see if Bertree wants to just kind of devolve into the push your wave and roam kind of kill style, or if he wants to actually go for the solo kills as he was able to find in that first game.
I feel like solo kills are a real option right here, especially, you know, with the electrocute, the ignite, you can get super aggressive, and you've also just always got as a hen hanging out in the sides. If you're able to get that pull back with the Q, it's so very tricky to get away. The second that you blow the flash off of Faulty, this lane would be very, very explosive, so we'll see if that is going to be lost. While the flash is still up, things should be a little bit calmer. We've spoken about the top lane, we've spoken about the mid lane. The bot lane is somewhere that I think there could still be explosivity too, but we're probably more expecting it to be quite calm until we get at least to the level 6s, if not to the point at which we start roaming around for the Drakes.
Yeah, generally Yaztrim and Magpie should be able to hold control of this lane, I think, with the, as you can see, a bit of the AoE splash damage that Yunara has to push that lane, the extra range that Rakan can play at versus Akers' Alistar. Once Sin has the ultimate, as you mentioned, he's going to have a way to try and close that distance just a little bit better, but for now, Yaztrim and Magpie did play out a decent lane in game number 1. It was kind of the only comfortable place for Bulldog in that game. As Tweak is going to start going at it with Pivolge here. Very tanky is the Skarner, but of course Zahen is a sticky customer. Dropping very low though. Faulty has enough damage to get it over the line. A red buff burn from Pivolge secures the first blood, and Bertree can't do anything to stop it.
It's clearly a bit of miscommunication right there. As Tweak, you're thinking, hey, I can go in, but just didn't know the Faulty was going to be able to roam over that bit quicker. And giving that early kill over is going to be really good for Bulldog. We wanted to see them get ahead early, wanted to see them play a little bit more proactively, and so far, so good.
Yes, able to just take that fight in the mid lane, and we'll not talk about what's happened to Faulty over the last 10 seconds or so. Certainly doesn't seem to be great. It has taken the ignite from Bertree to get him there, so that's a little bit of kill threat off the table for a couple of minutes, and at the very least Faulty has survived that aggression, and has a TP to get back and not miss too much of this wave. So Bulldog Academy gonna be happy with that first little scuffle, getting some gold into that mid jungle duo. They suffered last game, and we'd love to see more from them here.
They very much want to turn things back around. Obviously, going down 0-2 to another team is going to be pretty rough, especially two teams that we expect to be nearer the top end of the standings. Having that head-to-head matchup will be really important. At least scraping it into a 1-1 will give you a better chance of getting a tiebreaker matchup if things do get close towards the end of the season. Obviously, we're still very early on, and we're beginning to just see the start of the stratification between these teams. Brod establishing themselves as one of the top contenders. Bulldog with their 2-0 in the first week as well, looking like one of the better teams we have.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that Brod would be expected to be strong here, and we didn't get to see it on stream, but we did see the one-on-one result they had with Good Chi last week, kind of one of our other favorites. So we know that both of those teams have their strengths. We expect them to have their weaknesses. Good Chi, you know, these are famous bottlers blocks of Good Chi. So even no matter how good their roster is, they'll find a way to lose. But you know, Brod and Friends has a lot of names that we respect very highly, a lot of skill and talent on the roster. We saw a couple of mistakes in game 1 today, and they did drop a game to Good Chi last week as well. So there's definitely still work to be done here to make it back to potentially a second championship in a row, which would be a dream scenario for Brod after how long it took them, how long they struggled to reach the top of the mountain.
Did feel like they were so close for so long, and just about managing to make it at the end of last split. If they can keep this up, it would be huge for them. We're watching Tweak having a look, sniffing top lane, maybe potentially wanting to go in, but doesn't think that he's going to be able to find anything right here. Still, level 6 on Aniki means that there is a possibility of going in here.
Pivot going to start up that dragon on the bottom side, and with Tweak unable to make a particular impact on top side, should be a free objective for Bulldog to continue the strengths in this early game. Small CS lead at least for Aniki. He's managing to keep himself safe. The wave has been consistently kind of tending towards his tower, but he's not falling behind the lane. He's not necessarily giving kill threat over, and Bulldog will have to take the success from the other side of the map. Now Bertree's looking on the side, could look for an engage and a flank, and they're actually seeking Kakashi as well, but Sin still without that level 6, doesn't have a way to close the distance, and Brod don't want to take a risky fight right now.
No, there's no point. Really, this composition is going to come online at its best once you get on towards those first items. That's where you can really start to begin to look for things going on. So until then, just back off a little bit, allow the game to happen around you. They can potentially go and compete for these grubs. I think grabbing grubs, again, another composition where both teams look like they can play through the side lanes pretty effectively. Those grubs would very much help. For right now, though, both of the junglers towards the bottom side of the map, and with the lane in a pretty neutral state, could be something there. But again, the bot lane hasn't hasn't really been the main focus during the early game for either of these teams.
No, not necessarily. It seems like Broad and Friends are happy to leave Sin and Akers to their own devices right there. And Yastrom, oh, hang on a second. There we get the Charm, the Ignite onto Faulty. One more Spirit Rush. Does he feel like he has the damage? He has just enough. And the last tick completes the kill. Bear Tree winning the other side of the Ahri matchup potentially here. I mean, a little bit of scrapping in the bot side as level 6s are achieved except for Magpie. The Bear Tree took him a little longer to get it done, but he's still finding the kills in mid.
And you highlighted it pretty perfectly right there, Trajan. The other side of the matchup. That's one of the most satisfying things about these multi-game series, where you get to play the other side of it without Fearless. Hey, you can't win versus me on Ahri, you can't win with me on Ahri. It's just so rough right here in the mid lane. And Faulty, the fact that he also blows both the flash and that ulti, he's now not going to have that for any plays coming up soon, but also he's just put a massive target on his back. We were talking earlier, not having the flash on the Orianna, you are now so vulnerable to being ganked by as a hen, if Aniki wants to come roam around, if Akers wants to come up from the bottom lane as well. With these grubs spawning, if he got jumped here, it would be worse. Still, it looks like Bulldog are just going to be able to grab themselves this objective. Tweak, he is in the area, but not looking to contest.
Yeah, we did see a lot of roaming from Akers in that first game on the rail. He's been much more kind of locked into the bot lane so far in game number 2. But once again, Tweak is in the area but doesn't really have the support or the kind of the positioning to threaten to contest this objective. Both the first dragon and all 3 grubs going over to Bulldog Academy. Broad have been able to even up the gold through Bear Tree's influence in the mid lane. We can see he's pushing for plates now as well. But it is still going to be an even keel as we head on to the next few major plays. Now, given that we haven't seen too much out of Tweak so far on this Zahen last time, we saw him do some pretty nutty stuff on it. He was pretty unkillable. He was very hard to deal with.
Yep.
But again, largely without hard playmaking tools. That is kind of the issue that Broad has still. And I'm still seeing that this might cause them an issue if they're coming out even. If they're not necessarily just 7 miles ahead because Mel is 6-0 and can just walk into any lane they like. If they have the onus on them to start a successful play, to find a successful pick, that's when the lack of tools might actually bite them.
You very much are just relying on Akers going and sprinting at somebody. Maybe you're going to be able to find yourself
we need a flash headbutt for the ages.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it could certainly work. I mean, we saw that rel engage previously out of Akers. He clearly still has that killer instinct ready for him, as Tweak actually might get a little bit jumped here.
And once again, they're trying to punish Tweak from taking up this position. Ult committed, in fact, and Faulty backsteps the charm. Tweak with nowhere left to go. Ult onto the Orianna. The shockwave drags him back, and Bivol takes the credit. And now the support from Broad has arrived, but it's 3 versus 2. They don't really have much to offer. The AD carries seeing what they can offer, but Akers has to flash away. Tweak punished again by the counterpart in jungle.
Just trying to get too aggressive with some of these invade timers. In the previous game, it was working out really well for him. This time around, hasn't been able to get anything going like that at all. Faulty now going to get charmed up, and he might just be dead again. Yep, that's going to be a death. With another Spirit Rush out, it's just going to be a quick in and out. So once again, we get jungler dying for Broad, but it doesn't matter. Bear Tree going to be able to make it even.
Yeah, so not necessarily Bear Tree taking the entire game and 1v9 and get into a position where Broad can't lose. Broad are now kind of relying on Bear Tree to keep them propped up right here, to prevent themselves falling behind in the early game. As Tweak continues to get punished at the hands of Pivol, Wormsoil is still more or less in control of topside, and Niki's doing great keeping his CS up, but if anyone's going to have Prio in this lane, it's basically going to be the Olaf. He's always got the wave under control.
And this is also a particularly bad place for all of this gold to be going for Broad, right? Yes, you would maybe have it, maybe it's a little bit worse if all of the gold was going onto the Inara, but because all of the gold has gone onto Pivel, he's been able to get himself his Heartsteel instantaneously. He's already beginning to stack that one up. This Skarner is going to become a real problem as we get later on into this game.
Yeah, that's going to be Sin's problem to deal with, right? He's going to have to burn through that tank. He's got his own Kraken Slayer, and maybe Tweak and Aniki can do some of that assistance with the Black Cleaver, perhaps, as they are going to walk into each other once again. Pivol tanky, but Sin this time can ult into range, and there's Bear Tree with a charm to complete it. Finally, it's the Skarner that steps too far, and that killer instinct from Kai'Sa is critical to get him into the fight.
I feel like we really didn't say Sin's name very much in the previous game. The Corki had the quadra kill right at the end, but that was pretty much the only big moment that he was able to pull out. Other than that, he didn't really need to step up, and this game gets called upon, and as you highlighted beautifully, the Kraken Slayer just gives you that damage to rip on through Pivotal. He steps a little bit too far forwards, and it's going to result in a Drake being picked up by Brod. That's 1 apiece for these squads now as well. With that 3 grubs going over to Bulldog, they have got themselves the slight advantage when it comes to these objectives, and it is working out for them decently well. Couple turret plates going down. Still, they've fallen behind by 2,000 or so gold, 1,500 or so gold, which just isn't ideal considering, again, the composition you're playing.
Yeah, that's the first major success for Brod really in this game as a team. That is what was, it was kind of amplifying the lead they had in game 1 as they were playing together through mid and bot lane, off the Akka's roams, off the connections from Sin and Tweak into these plays that Bear Tree was able to get started. So that's the formula that worked for them in game 1, and they finally managed to get it utilized here in game 2. Now they've taken a little bit more control. The gold lead's back in their favor, as you say. They've evened up the Drakes, and they still have this strong Ahri to play through. The mid game is going to be very, very scary for Bear Tree. Anyone, you know, who walks into the wrong brush could find themselves on the wrong side of an Ahri engage, and as long as they have Sin or Tweak in the area, maybe they'll have the damage to get the job done.
Exactly, you really need to just bring multiple members along. That's part of the joys of this Brod composition specifically, is being able to rotate people around. Sin can ulti in, you've obviously just got all of the dashes as on Ahri. Not being alone on any of these fights will be critical for them. Pivotal looking top lane. Now there's no wave to try to play around, and now he's spotted out. This is immediately going to bring Tweak sprinting up towards the top side, and this is really slow.
Yeah, this is going to be a 2v2. They're not going to be able to make this a proper gank, and Pivotal probably needs to get away from that. Drops the Impale to bring Aniki away from the tower, and Wormsoil feels like he needs to get involved. It is going to be the 2 versus 2, and Tweak is there, but look at the damage he's taking. Wormsoil is absolutely shredding him! Drops an E as well, and takes Tweak's head off!
I mean, this is what the Olaf can do. Haven't really been looking too much top lane. Now Aniki desperately trying to clear out onto the wave. Is going to hit the public execution. He might have outplayed this. He does.
Wormsoil?
Oh no. What a
no way
play.
They both lived that.
I love the way that Pivotal takes all of that tower aggro here. Aniki tried his darndest, but just gets done.
Oh my word. Akkas tries to find a play on bot lane, but Yastrum is starting to get stacked up. He's got a Kraken Slayer of his own. And the Alistar without ult is going to take a fair bit of damage, but yeah, I think Aniki almost had the turnaround there, and that would have been massive to get some gold back and take some control there, but Wormsoil getting 2 kills off the back of it, that's the break that Bulldog Academy I think has really been waiting for. With Bear Tree scaling in mid lane, they needed a counter threat, and Olaf can be that guy.
And this has been a real difference of a game right here from Tweak. Just not being able to get anything going, beginning to fall behind. Yes, he's got the Sundered completed now, so some level of survivability. You're still going to be very, very squishy. Needs the rest of his team around him. That is what's happening right now. Multiple members roaming towards the bottom side of the map. 2 minutes until the Drakes. There's no real objective to play for. Just hunting for kills.
Yeah, Brod and Friends flew this player in. They invested heavily in Tweak and Aniki, bringing them over from Rise Gaming in the offseason. And sadly, still not the smoothest start to the season for this new Brod jungler, stepping into the shoes of Porp, one of the most prolific UK scene junglers of all time in League of Legends, with the amount of trophies, LAN and otherwise, that he's racked up over the years. And Tweak still has some time to cook in the oven, it seems. As overall, it's going to bring the game back to even. Tweak's now going to go for what could be another misjudged invade. Does at least get to safety this time, but he's rebuffed quite quickly. Bear Tree might be looking to make this a 4v3 though.
I thought about it, was thinking about going for the BlastCon Gaming, instead just going to head back up towards the top side of the map. Faulty as well had just about been able to clear out that wave and start rotating back down. With all of the time spent bottom lane on Vision spotted out, that is going to open up the Herald to go over to Pivotal. Well, no, sorry, to Pivotal, to Wormsoil. He's just going to be able to grab that one for his team. And this has been a far more competent full team game out of Bulldog. Yes, you end up with a couple of solo kills from Faulty, but everybody else has been able to play themselves a very nice game so far.
Return to a normal laning state at this point. Certainly a better start for Bulldog than last game. They actually have an option to go into a mid-game fairly even, as Wormsoil has taken a fair few chunks at the hands of Aniki. They've both got an item completed, despite the fact that Aniki did go down. Wormsoil going into that Ravenous Hydra. It's a very it's quite a greedy build, you know, it has absolutely no defense, but it's got plenty of self-sustain and a very high damage and ability haste, so it really plays for the 1v1 and for that assassination threat on the backline that Olaf has. without necessarily having as much tankiness to start with. So if Broad can isolate him and burst him, there's a chance they can deal with him, but they need to avoid getting, you know, slammed with an axe before that can happen, as Tweak is in danger. Once again, they've caught him out. Magpie and Pipple have him. The shockwave to get the damage done. They need to finish the kill, and there it is. Bear Tree, though, gets counter damage onto Faulty. They're chasing him down. Sin has arrived. Now Magpie's the target. 2 quick kills, but in come the TP. Worm Soil has arrived, and Yastrum can't complete Sin. Worm Soil needs to pick a target. He's going to get onto the Kai'Sa, but now Aniki's trying to slow him down. Pipple hunting after Bear Tree. A charm gives Ari a bit of breathing room. Can it actually get him out alive, as Worm Soil has slipped the grasp of the others? There's the Skarner, crashing Ari into a wall, and it's a messy one in the River Black block, so it's hard to tell who came out ahead.
I think whoever's able to turn back around and grab themselves this Drake will be the winner, with a jungler up. Pivotal is going to start this one. Still, Tweak has now respawned and is sprinting back out from base. Everybody has blown almost every single ulti flash available. Tweak, the only one with that now in inventory. Let's see if he can turn this back around.
All dropping a little low, but look at that damage again. This Skarner is not messing around. Tweak, though, picks up the objective, and the Skarner dropping oh so low. Akers on a sliver of HP scuttles back to bot lane. And Tweak and Aniki step away from this play, objective in hand.
There we go, Tweak, the only person who still had his ulti up and available after the previous set of plays, died way too quickly to be able to use it, is able to get back and grab himself the objective for his team, and so Broad do just about come out ahead. Still, Treasure, what I was looking at throughout that entire fight is Sin. He ults into the middle of that team fight. I mean, he's in the backline pretty much the entire fight, and he lives for so dang long. He was dealing good damage the whole time as well, playing alongside Bear Tree. If he's able to weave his way through team fights like that, then maybe there is a chance in this game for Broad.
Absolutely, that's the decisiveness we need to see from this Kai'Sa. If Broad can find a pick, they need the Kai'Sa in position to ult in and get that DPS down to get these critical targets off the field, and Sin did a fantastic job in that play. It did seem like there was a moment where Wormsoul wasn't sure if he wanted to commit onto the Kai'Sa or swap onto the Ahri, and that hesitation, I think, gave Sin a little room to play, and now he's getting 3v1 ganked, but of course this is an Olaf. He's going to pop the Berserker's Rage, and actually threaten to kill Tweak! Oh my goodness, there is no mercy from this Olaf. He's not going to fully commit. He sees Akers sitting around the corner now. He's got no ultimate, has to flash away, and Magpie's there to slow them up. Might be threatening the tower shots, and it's 2 kills for Bulldog Academy. Magpie
Sin
tries to escape, but Sin is in deep, committing again with the ultimate, and saves the play at the very end.
Sin, again, we were talking about quiet games previously. He had one, and now popping off in this one. 3-1 and 3, 2 items completed, but you'd think he was playing like a 4-item Kai'Sa right now.
Absolutely. This is not the story of Broad steamrolling Bulldog in Game 2. This is the story of their seasoned carries dragging Broad out of bad engagements time and time again. Bear Tree and Sin are doing all of the work to make these plays function, as the rest of the squad just cannot quite seem to get things going in the right way. Bulldog are managing to build up a very scary topside off this, and the game is very, very even. It's a small advantage for Broad. It's about 1k at 20 minutes. They do have an extra dragon in hand, but they've got to respect this Olaf, man.
I mean, it just looked like there were no comms going on topside. Tweak goes back in at the exact point at which everybody else from Broad decides, now we can't get this kill, and walk away, and the turn was always going to be there. Wormsoul does so much damage at this point. Ravenous got completed. He's got that hex plate as well. He's in such a strong position to carry. Yes, he's in a pretty similar spot at the moment to how Bear Tree is, so you'd think, maybe you've got a chance to play back, but I'd always take a fed Olaf over a fed Ahri.
Yeah, to be honest, neither of them are massively useful later on. Ahri does have a charm to offer, but the Olaf backline threat is very, very scary. And now he does have that 2 items completed. He's getting a bit of that tankiness, a bit of extra HP and armor off the toe caps to play with, so he's a bit more survivable. Looking for that second charge. Probably won't quite complete it. Aniki has managed to slow it down just enough to prevent those extra plates going down, but it's cross-map plays across the other side, plates and towers falling, and the map is really starting to open up.
Absolutely, it is. Small gold lead opening up for Broad right now. Only about 1,000 gold, so nothing too much. And now, Bear Tree trying to go in. Not going to be able to land a charm onto a Rakan, a notoriously slippery champion. Still, you can see the beginnings of the setup around this Baron are forming. Some resets coming through as well. And with 1.5 minutes until the next Drake is spawning, this is a key time where you've got to be worried about just having a Baron stolen away from you. But you also want to play around bottom side and get yourself onto Soul Point.
Bulldog taking an aggressive position, making sure they don't lose track of this Baron. Of course, spawning back at 20 minutes. I have seen a couple of 20-minute Barons kind of go a little bit Atakan sided, you know, where you just kind of, you start it up forgetting that Baron is now earlier, you're weaker, and it's stronger, and they end up throwing the game off it. So the spirit of Atakan does still live on in the 20-minute Baron, I must say.
Yes.
But it is a threat that something, you know, champions like Yunara and Olaf, for example, can shred through this objective if you give them free time on it.
I think both of these teams are just going to rip straight through a Baron if it is available to them. So you just have to be a little bit careful, both of these teams, cognizant of what is going on. There's a little bit of vision set up for both teams around the Baron. You can see they are all going to play a little bit more on towards this bottom side of the map. Right now, multiple members of Bulldog just stopping Sin from being able to link up with the rest of his team. Not exactly... Oh,
it's a secret mission from Broad, and they've found Faulty. They snuck all the way through the bot side of the jungle, and Bulldog's invading party is now pincered from either side. They're looking for a Niki. Wormsoul might be looking for a target to get into. Magpie gets onto one. It's got Sin, in fact, force him to flash away. Pivot chases him down. Wormsoul pivots to a Niki. Someone's going down to this Olaf. We just don't know who, as Yastrom's trying to find damage to do. Steps up and completes the kill on the Ambessa. Pivot has wasted enough time, but cannot find a kill of his own. It's now a 3 versus 4. And a large chunk from the Sin W really dissuades Bulldog from fighting any further.
No, they're going to have to pull back and walk away, and without Pivotal available, they can't just turn around and go threaten on towards the Baron. Instead, just going to get themselves some mid-lane priority. And what a split and messy fight that was right there, Trajan. I mean, you said it. Wormsoul was going to kill somebody if it cost him his life. It did not in the end, but he wasn't able to get onto any of these key targets. Instead, he's just chasing Aniki and Tweak around in circles, and it's allowing Sin and Bear Tree to deal their damage and rip through some of the frontline members of Bulldog.
Very clutch flash from Sin to get over that wall in the jungle into the blue pit right there, because if he does it, he is going down very quickly. And he's holding on to his shutdown. Bear Tree as well is a 950 gold shutdown waiting for pickup on this Ahri. He's got to be careful. He has the ignite. It's, oh my goodness, I say that. He is still 1v1ing Faulty, so he doesn't necessarily have to be too careful, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else can be a bit of a threat, but at this point, Faulty, 0-5-4, hasn't exactly been having the best series. Needs to just find himself a big shockwave, right? Just give that to your team. Everything else is just going to be gravy at this point. Still, losing out onto the mid laner is just going to give that 4v5 advantage over to Brod. They're going to spend that tempo getting themselves some extra vision and some extra push on the top side of the map, and potentially threaten onto the Baron right here.
I think Bear Tree got thoroughly dissatisfied with how little we were glazing him this game and has decided to step up and start carrying again. And now Pivol's trying to make his way into the Baron, but Aniki connects the public execution. The charm doesn't quite connect. The Skarner's pretty tanky. The Yunara on the side is doing a lot of damage, but knocked away by Akkers, and the rest of Bulldog need to flee. Wormsoil has found Sid. He didn't have flash this time, and all of a sudden, Bulldog Academy steamroll over Broad, and the Baron is waiting.
Oh my god, that impale right there out of Pivotal was everything. Bear Tree goes in. Oh, he's dead.
Oh, plans for the Baron last hit, and Bear Tree still trying to 1v9 this one. He's chunking hard. Akkers gets a look up into Wormsoul, a charm as well. Where's the Q? He needs the damage. He can't complete it. Pivol is back, and Yastrom steps up for a shutdown. Back to the Baron. They could go. Wormsoul can heal his way through it. They don't have the Orianna. It's only Akkers defend waiting. What more can this cow do?
I mean, Akkers, his Q combo not going to deal enough to kill anybody right here.
Attack.
I mean, I think he's just going to be a witness to the Baron going down.
Boo. We hate Act Defend. I want some Act Attack. Sadly, he's not going to try and 1v4 the entire enemy team as a support. Olaf, he is going to step away. He's just going to go for a bit of BM at the end there. And I thought Akka's headbutt onto Yastrom to remove the Yunara threat was going to be game-changing, but I didn't count on the fact that Wormsoil was still going to completely 1v9, and Pivol, despite getting chunked out at the start, still manages to have so much impact.
I mean, Wormsoil has tried his absolute best to win the game for his team right here, and may still well be able to do so. I'd like to see what items everybody has come back out from base with after that set of plays. Obviously, Baron-empowered minions for Bulldog is going to make their setup for this upcoming Drake that much easier too. You've got 3 items fully completed right here onto the Yunara, 3 items as well onto Sin, who again, for his team, has been trying to carry. It is him and Bear Tree versus Wormsoil in this one.
Absolutely. They did manage to strip a bunch of Magi stacks off of Bear Tree in that place, slowing down the snowball that he was starting to put together. And Sin still doesn't have flash. He's got to be careful. Wormsoul is there off a charm off the Rakan, and he's trying to reposition. He's got a heal, but a flash in from Olaf seals the deal. A TP in for Aniki. This Bulldog squad is behind enemy lines right now. Faulty and Yashdom have arrived. They're doing what they can. Pippa holds them in place. The tower has fallen. They've got the kill onto Bear Tree again. Both the critical carries have already fallen.
And this is just going to keep getting worse right here. You cannot kill Wormsoul. Every time you think he's about to go down, he's just going to be able to rip through and heal up so much. It's going to be a mid lane tier 3 tower and the inhibitor falling. And right now it looks like Bulldog, they won the game.
They are on the cusp of pantsing Brod and Friends in front of the entire UK community for the second time in 2 splits. They're working on the towers. They're diving the towers. They're going for the damage. They've got the Baron empowered minions. And there's nothing Brod and Friends can do. Sin is off the fountain. He doesn't even have flash just yet. He's got to play this one absolutely legendarily. But Wormsoil is just focusing on the objectives. You cannot stop the Bulldog Academy from ruining Brod and Friends' day. And they even the series up to 1-1.
And what a weird, messy game right there. Wormsoil, absolutely MVP of that one, was just completely taking over on the Olaf. That's now 2 games in a row where he's been able to grab his Olaf and just make it work. This is the sort of pick that you see in the UKEL that starts drawing bans very quickly.
We have a bit of a Lars-esque kind of sensation here building around the Wormsoil Olaf or Mate, but famously we were very bad at banning Lars' strong picks out. It took us about a split and a half to realize that you probably can't give him Fiora anymore. So maybe we can beat that record and stop giving Wormsoil this Olaf, but he was absolutely cooking on this one. He was playing the fights very well. He wasn't just sending it into backline and dying on repeat. He was holding on to his gold, not overplaying his hand. And Pivol as well, for my money. This Skarner survived so long in fights that he looked dead to rights in, gets big impales, gets big shutdowns, manages to set his team up for success. So that top jungle duo of Bulldog Academy deserves so much credit for this game.
The turning point of this game, the moment at which it was won for Bulldog Academy, was around that Baron pit on the top side of the map, where it looks like it's a pick that you're going to be able to kill Pivel. I mean, you are sat as Sin right there, sitting and hitting and dealing so much damage, and the 3-man impale just completely shuts that down. And this is why I was talking right at the very start of the game, when those first 2 kills went over to Pivel, about how I really liked him getting those early kills, because it meant he got his heart steal almost instantaneously and was stacking it up from the very beginning of the game. And that just left him so tanky, exactly what you needed as the front line, because you could then play with your top side. This was another game where Faulty really didn't have the best time of it. He wasn't majorly useful for his team, kept going down on kills, but it didn't matter. In this game, because you had those early kills onto the key members, you were able to overcome that.
Yeah, well, here we are again, Bloxer, and I would advise Jolly and all the Bulldog Academy fans in the chat to go and screenshot the standings, because Brod are 1-1, and Bulldog Academy are now 3-1 after that game. Well, we would not have expected it, but here it is once again. Let's toss it back to the desk and talk a little bit more about Bulldog Academy bringing this series back and stopping Brod in their tracks.
Bringing this series back, indeed. That was quite a game, honestly. I have to give it to Bulldog there. Really great stuff from Pivel and Wormsoil getting an early lead on the Olaf and really capitalizing off of that, guys.
Like, the Ambessa was the counter pick in draft, right? Because it didn't really do much the entire game. It went even with Olaf in lane, not ideal. And then Olaf did more in the team fights, less ideal. So I don't know. Maybe it's not the pick into Olaf or not the pick for a Nikki.
Could be either or, I'd say. I just think also that we can say yes, maybe it wasn't a pick for a Nikki, or maybe Wormsoil, like we saw that mastery coming out at the end. Maybe he just really knows how to play it, and I mean, there was some good synergy here between Pivel and Wormsoil. When he got that double kill up on the top lane, right? Like, that is Pivel tanking the tower all the way for him and just making sure he gets set up for success. Where, you know, Aniki didn't get that kind of, like, tender love and care that the Olaf got this game.
I want to talk about setting up for success. I mean, I want to kind of like carry on from that. there's someone that I think champion-wise absolutely deserves a line of applause this game. And even though, like, I think it was they eventually lost. Maybe I'm wrong, but Sin on Kai'Sa.
Yes,
What an
100% there with you.
absolute madman. They had all of us on the desk here when they had that top tier one. Kind of just ult down Playwoods and just absolutely run it in there. Had all of us screaming. Just what an absolute madman on the Kai'Sa there, Rory.
Yeah, Sin, like, him and Beartree were holding onto this game, like, almost holding onto the edge of a cliff, trying to figure this out, but unfortunately they had to hold on to this game because Tweak had a bit of a disaster of a game here, going from that early, like, skirmish, trying to contest Crab, when you know Orianna has the push into Ori, it was a bit weird there, and then constantly just losing trades to Pivotal. It was rough trying to watch Broad negotiate this early game when the camera wasn't over the Ori.
Yeah. I mean, it's talk about that fight, for example. Sorry, Joey. I mean, just ulted in, flashed sideways to get the Q proc on someone. Skarner comes in, half HPs him with one auto, and still keeps on walking forward. Who on earth is doing that in their right mind apart from Sin and getting it to work?
I think we found Sin's #1 fan just
I mean,
in the wild here.
Maybe. I mean, maybe I've learned something today, but like, honestly, that's like a #1 key takeaway from me. I wish I could play with some ADs like that. That's insane. But talking about their mid laner, Beartree, went insane in lane, but I just didn't have the proactiveness that I would have kind of liked to see kind of push their Broads kind of more forward in a way.
Mm-hmm. I think we have a second replay to go into.
Oh, good, because I think this is the fight in top river
I think this
near
is
Baron.
the one. Yeah,
And
this is the one.
It's a wild fight overall, because as they were calling out on the cask, Akers gets a great headbutt to just remove Yunara from the fight here. But it just doesn't matter, because the Skarner is so damn tanky that he soaks up so much pressure. And just in time for the TP to come in, he doesn't even go... He goes a bit low there, but then he can just tunnel crawl through the wall in time for the Olaf to clean everything up. It's a monster performance that you, frankly, I'm going to say, rarely see tank players are able to pull off, because it's rare that tank players have the kills and the gold available to get to that point.
Yeah, it was those 2 kills early that kind of swayed him into the proactiveness of kind of just going forward in this game, managing, as Kai'Sa said, to be able to get Heartstilled that early, especially in big fights like that when they were happening around Baron Pit. It's just infinite stacks, and getting that 3-man impale whilst you've already got Heartstilled just sounds like a good time for the side of Bulldog.
It's not just that, right? It's also them being able to get away with it. As you say, crawls over the wall, he goes back. This fight continues for so long that he has time to come back and just join that Baron fight once again, take the Baron, and this is how Bulldog just rolled out this game for them. Like,
yeah, bang on.
Madness.
And we've already talked a bit about him already, but like, Wormswell, what? Where's this player been? Like, I'm excited for a new top lane now. I'm going to be honest. If we're pulling out Olaf's, then I'm over the moon. I find the champ really interesting. A lot of people find it basic, but I'm like, no, you really have to hard commit. And knowing the best moment to hard commit is a really important skill in League. And frankly, it adds some much needed diversity to a top lane role that can get quite stagnant in competitive play. So really nice to see that champion out to the roster.
yeah. And in such a way that it got set up for success. I'm just going to say it again. Recognizing this Olaf needs to get ahead and getting it ahead. Space creating here from Pivotal as well during the fights. Just fantastically done. I think we're going to toss it to a break, but don't go anywhere because there is more League of Legends to be watched tonight.
Relive the pain and turn it all love. 'Cause we must live up to our name. Strike once, we can't let go. Strike twice, reap in this world.
just
Still going for this space, you would have. Chimera super low.
Trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again.
Oh my God!
They lose.
And everyone bow down to Venom Crest. Two-time champions. Bow down to Jay.
Hello and welcome in to the UKEL. It is a Monday. We are live. It is week 2, day 1, and we are in the second half. Welcome in and welcome to my analysts, Avi and Bloxer. Welcome into the stream. Obviously, you guys have already been on stream. You already got to know, but how are you feeling about today, Avi?
I'm feeling quite good, actually. I mean, Inari coming off a really good performance against Bandits last week, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of them.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate, obviously, that we didn't get to see natives play during week 1, day 1, so we're getting to see them for the first time right here, and hey, if they can step up, it should be really exciting, but they've got a really big task in front of them, as you said, Avi, right? Natives, without having played, we don't know about them, but Inari have looked excellent, and they actually were coming into this split as one of the teams we were really excited about. They had some pieces we thought could be extra special.
Indeed. Now, talking about extra special, I want to quickly get into something very, very fast. It's what I'm wearing right now. If you recognize the jersey, you already know this is Venom Crest. It is the final that I casted, and the people best never forget. Right there.
Oh my God.
3-2 on the back, custom made, sent to me. Shout out to Jack Ace. Never forget who I am. Number 1 J Real Profit. Don't know. But anyway, back to this game, back to the important things, you know. I got this today, so I had to pull it out, you know. I had to show some respect to Ace. So shout out to Ace for actually coming through. But yeah, basically this game, Natives versus Inari, you are going to need a little bit of a crystal ball to pick who's going to win, because we've not seen Natives play yet, right? They didn't turn up to the last game. It is what it is. They're hopefully here today. We'll hopefully get to see what they're saying. So let's start with Inari. Let's talk through this team, because I feel like they're the ones that obviously we have seen a bit. We also have a lot of expectations on this team. So Avi, where are you kind of sitting in? Have those expectations been met, or is it a little bit too early to call?
I mean, it's always a little bit too early to call. It's only week 2 now, but they did look really, really good against Bandits last week. I mean, just getting promoted this year, they're looking pretty good. I'm quite happy with what we're seeing so far, so I want to see more of this.
Okay, Bloxer, any particular standouts? Obviously, we've got the roster a little bit below us. Do you want to talk through any of the players that maybe people at home aren't as familiar with?
Yeah, I mean, there's really a lot of names that you're not majorly knowing if you've only been watching Div 1. Obviously, a couple of these names have been sitting around in Div 2. For me, it's really number 1 in the mid lane, who I think you've got to be looking towards. Had himself a really impressive Yone game, looked great on the Cassiopeia as well. I think Nat 2, the Karthus jungle, something that's been pretty exciting. On the previous desk, we're always talking about how much you wanted to see a Karthus down in the bottom lane. We may not see that necessarily today, because Nico, he had himself a Sivir and a Yunara game. Really, I was most impressed with the mid lane right here. The Yone Cassiopeia games were great, and I think in the current meta, top laners can totally take over. Bot laners are way overtuned, but if your mid laner is strong, it's such a linchpin of the way that the game is played at the moment, that number 1 playing as well as he did previously, I think that's really exciting.
And I got to say, Oku, I feel like holds it down in the top lane. Tanks. Solid, not giving too much over. So I do think that's also one that should not be understated. I'm also a big fan of Nat, not just because I'm a jungler, but because they're playing some stuff that's a bit weird, right? They're playing the Aatrox, they're coming out, they're playing the Karthus, which, you know, except for, you know, maybe some sort of Bulldog owner, like no one really plays this champion, though. So it's one that's, I guess, a little bit more forgotten, but also giving a little bit more breadth to their roster, because then it allows for those AD mids. And you already talked about the Yone performance coming up. Let's bring up the Natives roster, though. Let's get into the second team. Who are they actually matching up against? You haven't seen them on stream yet, but you might know some of the names if you have watched Div 2, because 3 of them are returning, but they do have a new jungle and they do have a new mid. And Avi, I got to ask, changes coming into the split are usual, but how do you feel like it's going to kind of set the balance, considering that they didn't get to play last week? This is essentially week 1 for them.
I think they have a lot to prove, really. I mean, coming off brand new off season, basically, haven't played yet. We need to see immediate, right off the bat. They have to play something to put themselves on the board, really. What are they going to do to try and show themselves to the rest of the league to be a contender? Even if they aren't going to, you know, they might not be favourites to win or anything, but how do they prove to the rest of the league that they can at least perform and have the pieces to go further? That's really what I'm looking forward to seeing. What sort of craziness are we going to see? Because you have to almost play a little bit wild here if you want to make something after that. not showing up last week. I guess I don't know what to say about that because we haven't seen them before. It's all guessing work at this point.
But we could, I guess, retrospectively look at them a little bit, Blocks, because obviously they have played each other in Div 2. They aren't unknown to each other. If anything, I'd actually say this is almost a great start for Natives to play someone that at least they have some sort of substance on.
Exactly. However, it wasn't that Natives were able to actually win that matchup. Inari did come out on top of that one. Natives were the last seed that were able to get themselves into this league. And overall, coming in, looking at these rosters, right, if you were watching the podcast, which you absolutely should do every Saturday, you know that in our power rankings, they were put right at the bottom. They were our bottom tier, D tier team. We don't have the biggest faith in them coming in, and I guess that hasn't necessarily been helped by the fact we haven't got to watch them yet. But I don't think completely just counting this native squad out is going to be useful. I want to look specifically right here at the mid lane, because it's fun, right? Okay. It's Zathos in the mid lane.
I agree with you. It's
not exactly who we were expecting to see mid lane. Now, Zathos has played competitively before. This is not just a caster randomly stepping in, but if you're a UKEL watcher, you're much more used to Zathos here on the desk, on the cast, bringing you the games from the other side of the screen. In terms of a player, we haven't seen him play particularly carry-orientated. I don't think he's going to be that guy. I think if you're looking for that guy on this squad, Dalbany is far more likely to be him for this squad. He has some great aggressive pickups. I think his gangplank is kind of the main thing that he plays a lot of. But for Zathos, what we want to see from him is some just basic level, keep your squad together looks, because if you can do that, as much as we were talking about previously, you know, when we were looking at Inari and you can carry through mid lane, most teams are getting away with mid lane that is just as standard as possible, make things happen, and if he can overperform that even slightly, I think there is a really good chance for this Natives team to begin to surprise people.
Now, talking about surprises, he was also a support main, so I do wonder if there's a world where maybe we see some kind of unheard of comps at the moment. Maybe there's a bit of Juggermore action or something like that, where we really play towards one carry. If you're saying Dalbany could potentially get it done, maybe they just focus topside. They know that they're playing against a team that loves the mid bot lane to really carry, so maybe they try and punish a weak side king on that side. But we'll have a look. What I want to see is, what did we predict? Let's bring those predictions up. I don't even think I wrote mine down, so I don't know what I've been given, but hopefully it's going to upset the balance. But essentially, they will be on our screen at some point. I think most people are predicting 2-0 Inari, though, which I think is a pretty fair shout given how strong they looked last week against Bandits, who I did think had a decent reputation in general around the league, Abby.
Yeah, I mean, Bandits, obviously a bit of a shaky start coming into this split, but they aren't looking the worst. So I think that's kind of testament as well to how good Inari almost have been. To be, I wouldn't say a strong team like the Bandits, but a good team like the Bandits, to just kind of put themselves really strong on the board at 2-0, I think this is a good sign for them. I think it kind of equals in my eyes, if they can put up a really solid performance, it just kind of makes sense to say Inari 2-0 here as well.
And Blocks, any differentials, any potential 1-1s, any crazy 2-0s like on the other way?
I wish I could play the other side of it right now, but I just don't believe that. I think especially considering where they were tier listed early, where we were kind of seeing them alongside. I mean, Rob, the Oracle Rob, who knows more about any team than any other, had them in a similar look. Rob out, obviously, as Bulldog, who we've just seen play themselves a pretty competent set of games right here, who look pretty good overall. I think Inari have a chance to sort of play themselves into a better spot than people even initially thought, and we thought they'd be a mid-of-the-pack team, right? Especially with this way that the league is set, with the two best of ones back-to-back, no fearless between the two of them. Inari, I think they've shown us the sort of composition that nobody else is playing with the tanks top lane that gives them an edge right here. Everybody else is trying to get aggressive with their top laners. I think Dalbany's going to want to get aggressive. Being able to say, okay, I play Cassante. I mean, he had the Cassante copy-pasta moment in their previous matchup. His Scion was absorbing tons of pressure too. I think they've just got that X factor. So I do wish I could tell you I think it's going to be a Natives 1 or a Natives 2-0. That's just not how I'm feeling about this matchup.
And I think that's completely fair. I will say, I love an underdog story. Obviously, that's the whole shirt that I'm wearing right now is exactly that, you know. But it's a sentiment of, I do think the Natives are so unproven and they are so changed. And I think that one of the biggest factors that I'm kind of looking at is how much of Natives played with the new roster, right? Because obviously we all know that people switch up, New rosters come in, they sometimes take a bit of time to get their teething issues done, and scrims don't replicate the real thing either. So this team might have done really well in scrims, and then maybe they're not going to do as well on the stage. Plus, they're against a team that has beaten them before, has their number a little bit, and also is doing quite well in the league at the moment and has already had that first game. It definitely, for me, stakes them to be the second place in this matchup. But you know what, like I said, there are definitely some upsets that I could see happening if we maybe see natives play just not meta stuff. It's really kind of my alternative, and I'm not saying that in the sense of they need to kind of throw everything in the kitchen sink at the wall to see if something will stick, but I think that they definitely will have much more of a favor if they can kind of catch an Ahri off guard.
Yeah, I think also talking about meta at the moment, things are really wide open. I don't think there's any lane right now that has one champion that just, you have to play that one. Bot lane, maybe with the Varus and the Yunara, those are the top tier, but also at this level, you can kind of get away from that. Every other lane, it has so many different options to go towards. I think top lane and jungle particularly are really explosive, a lot of different options that you can move towards right here. And all it takes at this level is one lane to take over, to just completely change the look of the matchup. I think if we're looking towards somewhere specific to be going, it has to be the junglers. For either Shippy or Nat, you can just change a game by playing something aggressive. The Nocturne is what I'm thinking. Nocturne Orianna maybe as a combo, where if you can be good on that one, if you can hit that consistently, what do your opponents do? Absolutely nothing. We saw in the previous game as well, where Betra, he grabbed himself a Mel, gets a couple kills. What can you do? Absolutely nothing. I think mid-jungle, that's where you can really be looking to take over a game.
Well, here's the draft coming up. Gangplank taken away. You talked about it, but it's actually an Ahri that are going to ban that one away, which I'm a little bit surprised about, to be honest. I would have thought... Well, actually, no, you know what, Debani, you did say was going to be the one that could potentially play it. We are going to see Aphelios being hovered here. Natives obviously do lose one ban for not being there and having a substitute come through, so they will only get two. So Varus and Shen taken away, and that Aphelios is locked in quick. Now, I will say, I mean, the state of Aphelios has obviously changed quite a lot. Was good, then nerfed, still strong, but maybe not as insane as the ones you talked about earlier, like the Yunara and the Varus, but obviously they were both taken off the board.
I mean, yeah, it's Aphelios at the end of the day. I think Aphelios is one of those champs with all the buffs, with all the nerfs, he's still going to be strong. It's Aphelios. Get a good ADC in a good position, and Aphelios, no matter what, is going to take over a game, I'd say. So it makes a lot of sense to take this early, and then just look to build the rest of the team after that.
I think the Aphelios also, the best bit of it is not necessarily what he does, but what you compare it alongside. There's a lot of enchanters right now that are unbelievably strong. I mean, the Lulu is what really springs to mind. That has been taking over a lot of matchups, but you can also pair it with a lot of the engaged supports too, depending on how much you want to be playing aggressive early, how much you want to be just looking towards the later stages of the game. For a B1 is a little bit bold. The response out of Inari with the Orianna and the Cassante, I mean, this is just the basic standards that you are kind of expecting, and as we talked about, right, the Cassante has been so strong recently. Oku had a brilliant game on it, but it does give over that counter pick immediately to Dalbany. That's one of the strongest points of his game.
I was also a little bit surprised that they actually went straight into the Orianna as well, because, like, we've literally seen number one play some weird stuff, right? Yone and then Cassiopeia. So it is definitely a little bit of an interesting one, but the Cassante going to come through standard. On the flip side, the Lux being picked up, right? Could go support, could go mid lane. And then Yorick, I'm not going to lie, I've been a number one Yorick hater on UKEL for a long time. Avi, I'll let you talk about that pick instead.
I mean, I think Yorick is one of those champs that it either works incredibly well or you get absolutely nothing out of him. Like, the amount of times we've seen a Yorick come out on UKEL 4 Nations and it's just done nothing. It's picked mostly as a counter pick, but it doesn't get the value it needs most of the time. So, I mean, I respect it. I think it's probably going towards Dalbany on that top side, but I respect it. I'm not sure I have faith in it, though.
No, and also alongside that, it's not just that the Yorick itself maybe doesn't take over its lane into a Cassante, right? You get some push, but you don't really kill it, and the Cassante can actually fight back against you if you're playing it well, especially if you pair it up alongside something that can gank early, I don't know, like a Jarvan. But also, you've got yourself an Aphelios. Awesome. There's your carry. Play around it. The Yorick doesn't want to do that. That's a very different playstyle overall. At the same time, though, again, whenever you're at this level, you've got to consider how good's the macro at the start of the split as well. If you're, as Inari, not focusing on constantly pushing that wave through, moving back to try to play around this Yorick, you can just start to bleed out towers, and with all of the turret plates, with gold coming even more quickly through from these towers, it is a playstyle that could potentially work. I just think it's a lot riskier than what Inari are doing, which is, hey, we're going to press buttons on your face, and you're going to die.
And talking about macro, let me tell you, this guy over here, he knows macro. He knows macro right here. That Black Bloxer, he's been in the LPL. He's talking about macro. He knows what he's talking about. I also will say the Yorick is a little bit of kind of what I wanted in some essence of it's not the most common pick to play against. And if Dalbany is really good at this Yorick, they could definitely ruin the game for Inari, because they could become that 4-1 situation where you just have to pick and you basically lose either way. So on the flip side though, you are continuing the streak, right? And are you going to go for another press buttons in your face? We're going to destroy you with the Ashe. That should hopefully be a lockdown on a target.
No.
Malphite going to be locked in though. That is most likely a jungle, and it does add to that 4-1 potential.
Yes, it does. And also, hey, if you're an Orianna, or you're an Ashe specifically, your day just got ruined. You are so sad to see a Malphite locked in right now. The Malphite's been really strong recently. It's a great jungler. I really like it paired up alongside what you have in the top lane as well with the Yorick, because you don't need all of that engage. You now provide the engage.
Just
right
saying Silas is open.
Malphite.
Just saying.
To be fair, this would be a pretty decent Silas game.
Where would you put...
Gizmo's going to love that I said Silas, by the way. You could Silas support. You could Orianna down into support and play Silas mid.
Yeah.
They're not going to do either of those things. They're going to be boring. They're going to play Seraphine Ashe. You know what? I get it for the content, but where's the Silas? You know, where was the style, the flair? Avi, we got the two teams locked in though. Breakdown. How do you feel about these two teams?
I mean, there's a lot to like with natives here. I mean, seeing the Yorick, obviously, we're just saying it's a little bit iffy, but it does let you play side lanes while the rest of the team can just have a lot of team fight potential. I mean, the Malphite goes in, Aphelios just layers all the autos on the back of that. It's pretty good, to be fair. I don't hate this. And then all the peel off of Akama as well. This isn't bad at all. The only thing that does interest me is the Lux mid. I'm not 100%, and I like it. I like having the Lux, but also it doesn't feel like it's going to do as much here. It's looking for team fight potential, but Lux works. It's not the best pick in my eyes, but I do want to see more of it. I think it could just be one of those where they say to Zapdos, can you play it safe? Can you play the lane? Slowly come and help in team fights, and then we're not expecting you to be the big carry. Just come in, get some good chip, get a decent ult, get some decent roots. You don't have to be the big Lux player here. But I think the rest of natives, there is that team fight potential just with Malphite and Karma on their own, and then Aphelios comes in and does Aphelios things.
And Bloxer, what's your breakdown?
I think natives composition, it has a little bit of an identity crisis right here. Your Malphite's looking to go flying in, but then is your follow-up really there? It is long-ranged enough. You're not completely unable to follow it up, but you're playing into a composition that knows exactly what it wants. It's gonna look for just a pick onto one person. You could have paired it alongside the Jinx or the Aphelios if that had been open for just the full wombo combo teamfight composition. Instead, you're going for the Ashe, so Enchant Crystal Arrow, dive bomb whoever it is that is jumping you. I really like what Inari have. I think they have the better composition overall. For natives, though, they have a couple places that could get ahead, and they're really just going to be having to rely on that macro, pulling Inari around and trusting that they can't deal with constant side lane pressure. I think natives, they have a really tough journey for them ahead.
Okay, well, with that being said, let's hand it over to the casters. But before I hand over, I want to give them a little intro. It is their first time for both of them on the UKEL. We're promoting talent. We're bringing in a top caster from the Dutch League. Bring in Craze, and we are bringing back a big UKEL name now. It is Gizmo as well. Welcome to the casters. Welcome to the UKEL, and let's bring home a massive game one.
Thank you, J-Real, Avi, and Bloxer for that incredible draft breakdown and introduction for the second series of the night. It is going to be Natives Academy versus Nard Esports, and it's me, Craze, and Gizmo on the mic for this one. Gizmo, this was a draft for sure, and we have a lot of opinions to share on this one.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting draft. I think Native have definitely picked some a bit more of a identity issue, I feel like, from that draft initially. You've got a lot of different ideas going on there. You've got the engage from the Malphite. You've got Lux that sort of doesn't want to interact in lane, and then you've got a split push on the side. So you really have to sort of win on this Aphelios to sort of snowball to a situation you can get that 4-1 going. And without that, I feel like that comp's going to sort of fall apart pretty fast.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that one's gonna turn out. I'm personally curious to see what will happen in this bot lane, because I know how that was sorted out, but
it's fun.
This should be better now, because Seraphine Ashe, obviously very fun interaction with the Ashe passive, with the beat drop of the Seraphine, the E that you can immediately get a root off. But is it gonna be a Seraphine AP carry and then an Ashe support? And be the other way around. Serpent's Fang has incredibly high value against the Karma and the Lux. The possibilities seem endless.
Yeah, it's really anyone's guess really what's going to happen there, because I feel like the Serpent's Fang could really be a great early purchase when you've got a Lux and you've got a Karma who's probably going to end up going the shield build, I assume, just based on the comp identity. So that could be a great early purchase. And by putting that into the support role, it means that can be their primary focus. Meanwhile, the Seraphine can, we've talked about it in previous iterations that the extra items on ADCs can be really strong, especially in mage items. So Seraphine could really snowball really high, but looks like it's going to be going into the support role. So it's going to be Ashe ADC. So maybe we'll see some interesting picks there. Maybe it'll be the on hit just to try and deal with that Malphite in the front side. Because if they can sort of avoid the Malphite ult, hopefully holding that flash and trying to avoid it that way, you should be able to shred them if you go the on hit. Otherwise, you're looking for you could go maybe the lethality engage, sort of trying to look for this Aphelios in the later stage, but I feel like it sort of falls off quite hard if you can't land those ultis.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on that Malphite engage. Also a lot of pressure on the Karma to get those shields on in time. I think we're kind of toying with the idea of a Malphite jungle angle. Prested Tech has been making some rounds on that champion as well. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case, but it looks like it's going to be the top lane. And I feel like that kind of eases our minds, like, all right, it's going to go for a full tank moment. Karma, don't worry, you'll be safe. Use your shields for the Aphelios who might really need it.
Yeah, I mean that is the one pitfall I find with the biggest pitfall with Native's comp is that they don't really have massive amount of engage other than the Malphite ulti, and then they haven't got a lot of disengage. So you've got the J4 going in trying to get that big ulti Cataclysm down, and there's not really a way to stop the J4 from getting in to get that ulti down, other than the shields to try and sustain once you're in there. I know Aphelios can do great in those situations of just healing through that damage, especially with Severum, but if the damage does mount up and gets to that point, is it going to be enough?
First impressions will be gotten from Native's Academy as we're heading on to the Rift. Get a big trade onto the support here of Natives immediately. Has to use both the flash and the heal. Also, Aphelios taking quite the damage there. That's going to be a very welcome trade for the bot lane of Inari Esports.
Yeah, and that's the power of this Seraphine Ashe combo, is you always go E on the Seraphine, and straight away you get that slow instant stun, and then you're able to make that trade, and it's really set up this early lane for them, which is pivotal for their game.
And you can immediately see the pressure that they're building down there. It's gonna be everything that this Ashe Seraphine combo will want.
Yeah, and
meanwhile, I'm still trying to figure out my audio issues that I apparently have, so apologies.
That's okay. We'll take this back to when these guys last met, right? They last met in the road to Div 1, right? They were in playoffs trying to make it there, and Inari were the ones that took that victory in the best of 3. So since then, Natives have picked up a few extra players. They picked up a new mid and new jungle. Obviously today we got the sub of Zathos in. Now we need to try and work out whether or not this is going to be the better ideal for them. Their mid jungle that they used to be their carries, so trying to switch that into now a new ideology. I'm wondering if that gives an opportunity for their top lane to sort of take presence. I mean, he was that tank player for them previously, but however, in solo queue's been playing like a lot of carry-based top laners, so I'm wondering if maybe that's going to be their new ideology. Picking the Yorick here could be a slight look towards that. But yeah, they've sort of kept the rest of that team. They've kept the bot lane the same support. So maybe the bot lane support become that carry instead. The Aphelios Karma, normally quite an aggressive lane, but has been countered quite efficiently by the Ashe Seraphine.
Yeah, not up to the start that they really wanted it to be. Up and Oct in the bot lane. Struggling so far, but I think after a recall, they'll be a little bit going back with a little bit of confidence that they'll definitely need, as we have seen now. This Malphite press the tech jungle, and these two junglers might meet each other at this bot lane scuttle crab, but it's not who's there so much earlier than the Malphites.
Yeah, but it might turn to something after. I mean, Orianna's getting pushed here, J4's pathing down, just a little bit of poke, and it'll just be a trade. Maybe Nat will go up to the top side. Instead, maybe looking to just defend his bot lane to stop this push from happening.
Well, it's interrupted as well by Nat. You do see Sakura with who received a massive trade. So all of a sudden, this bot lane matchup turned on its head, and Nat also feeling the pressure of that one. Speed, what are you gonna do here now? Sakura, beat drop, looking for that root, can't quite find it. So it's just gonna be an exchange of abilities for now, and bullying Speed until the end of days.
And that's just waited, so I'll be able to get behind them here.
Yeah, now looking for the gank. Remember, Karma, no flash, but making good use of the bush right here. So the flag and drag just back into the river. And now the bot lane of Inari being rooted up by Aphelios, making it such a close trade, forcing the heal out of Sakura.
That's no flash now for Aphelios, so that could be a J4 regank in the next reset. So got to keep an eye on that one. But in the meantime, topside, an evil trade there from the Arc.
That's just Yorick for you in a matchup. It's not always the most interactive one, as Sakura is playing with fire in this bot lane. One little misstep and you're done for.
Yeah, it just shows the importance of these Mantra Karma Ws, really, just to heal up and sustain in this lane. It's been able to bring back the lane state quite heavily for them here. And yeah, really enable this poke build to come through. But Ashe Seraphine will start to come online soon, just needs a little bit more time.
You can see how Sakura is struggling right now, being low on HP, but still sticking around. Thank goodness for that Hulk shot from Nico, knowing where Up and Ox will be. Will have also remained in this lane, looking for the Grafton, looking for the root on Sakura, who still has flash. But now our eyes on the top lane as level 6 has been reached. There's the all-out by Oku, looking for that fight, but it's not going to be one so far. Not in the meantime in the bot lane, claiming first blood on the flashless Karma, who just didn't have it available.
Yeah, reclaiming that early game aggression level 1. Really nicely played there from that. Just he'd lost his top side to the Malphite because of staying around later, but able to reclaim that kill after.
Meanwhile, mid lane, a little bit of pressure. Final spark being dodged away, and looks like it's just number 1 who simply walks away.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really important to touch on the fact that Nat and number 1 have normally been the role that Inari's tried to play around. You know, they try to get mid lane pressure and then try and snowball it into the bot side. But given the fact that Aphelios is sort of the win condition for natives in this early stage, I feel like they've tried to switch stuff up and try and play around this bot lane. And, you know, it's already worked with the picking up the Karma. Can they snowball this more efficiently to put this Aphelios out of this game going forward?
Going to be curious to see how this matchup will turn out in later stages of the game, as now Speed looking around, not level 6 quite yet, but could do some work in the bot lane here. Sakura forced to use the flash early. Nico doesn't have his available, but all the CC tools now gone for the bot lane of Natives Academy. Well played there from Inari Esports to get out there and make sure that Aphelios does not come online just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a press to attack Malphite, so I have got a few questions on that. You know, there has been previous talk of going electrocute and a few other different alternatives. I think press to attack this game, it might be alright, but I feel like there's other alternatives that could have been enable you to get that flat damage down. You never know. Maybe we'll see something different, and there is some cool mechanics you can do with Malphite. I mean, I know it's simple as pressing R, but there is some really small interactions you can do with prepping your W ahead of time, so you get that shorter cooldown. So you've already got it coming off and coming straight back on, so you can have an extra double uptime on it. So I'm wondering if we'll see that sort of come through to fruition. But in the meantime, it's just sort of J4 starting the Drake and bot lane getting prio.
Yeah, I remember this winter I was kind of dabbling into some jungle gameplay, and I was playing against a Malphite press the attack, and with a red buff that was not fun to play against. And also he made it his personal mission to make my life as the enemy jungler as miserable as possible, which is constantly being in my jungle. Luckily so far, Spee has not been able to do that, but now he's on a mission. That mission is in the mid lane. He's got an unstoppable force. Oh, but there's an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and that makes for a perfectly aligned Shockwave, but Speed not doing anything so far. There's then the Cataclysm as well as the Unstoppable Force, forcing and Nat under that tower. Yeah, they're getting killed back, but that arrow from Nico was gorgeous.
Yeah, that's great teamwork there to be able to get that through. Real communication, but
not done yet. Number one, just killing him right there. That looks so easy. It probably felt like it too.
Yeah, it was already a great play for Inari, but see what our fellas can do here, trying to punish the Ashe ulti down. But yeah, great play from Inari, able to be able to get 2 kills, but also even if they were just able to get the 1, it's great because there was a double stacked wave there, which Lux missed. So absolutely great play. And now Ori's going to reset, has TP to get back to lane, so won't miss a single thing and maybe be back up in time to contest these grubs.
Zavdos, caster turned coach turned player. Some difficulties on the Lux so far, but as you said, I think before we went live, it was just a matter of pressing R on the wave and hoping for the best. Perhaps that will be his task here, as we see a little kerfuffle around the Void Grubs, 2 of them already being picked up by Natives Academy. Meanwhile, Encore and the bots are just short of reaching the Karma right there. Then Aphelios, now that's a white and red guns. You don't want to fight that, but they're gonna go for it anyways. Nico flashing out, kiting so well, but can't quite finish the job. All summoner spells used in the bot lane, yet no one dies.
That's a lot of confidence there from Inari to take that with the red-white showing and just being able to step forward. Even though the Seraphine ulti missed, they just knew that they were in a position where they could trade more aggressively, as we see. Number 1, nice flash there to avoid the turret damage just as well, just to try and help, but here's the poke coming through. Can the bot lane make anything out of this early game trade?
Oh, meanwhile, you see number 1 in some trouble. But no, still finds the shockwave onto Zapdos, making this impossible situation in a 1-for-1 trade. Nat in the bot lane in the meanwhile has a Cataclysm available to him, just clearing as much waves as possible, but he gets a perfect 2-man stun of both kills going to Nico. And this is Inari Esports accelerating this game.
Yeah, it really seems like Nat is running the early game map state here, really trying to punish this bot lane, and without this bot lane being ahead, I can't see your way back into these late game team fights. You've really got to try and put a lot of pressure on this. The Malphite ulti needs to be held for this bot lane to try and snowball this Aphelios, just to try and get him a little bit of something back into this game.
Yeah, Nat really dictating the pace of this game. Wherever Spee wants to do something, looks like there's an answer that he or his teammates have in return. That leads to a 3,000 gold lead 10 minutes into the game. You can see also significant CS difference in that mid lane. That's where most of Gap will be, but also Nico with 2 kills he's just able to pick up. Should feel quite comfortable, but should not get too comfortable, as there's an unstoppable force from a Malphite. Absolutely no way he's going to survive that one. There's a shutdown going up to Spee, but now the Orianna arriving as well. Number 1 together, reunited with his jungler and leading him to 2 kills. And this is what I just said. Wherever Natives try to do something, looks like Nari just has something in return.
Yeah, I feel like Nat is just reading the map perfectly here, just to try and punish everything. And, just the communication, you can just see it in Inari as they see a dive coming through.
They're not done yet on the bot lane. Why not auto attack the tower in between Sakura? You're gonna get the kill anyway. Nat 4-1 in 4, 8 out of 9 kills. He was part of the only exception being number 1's mid lane 2v1 outplay. Just phenomenal stuff from this Jarvan.
Yeah, and when there's a crystal on tower, you've just got to hit it, okay? Just the sound effect alone is satisfying enough. And to do that mid-fight is brilliant as well. I'm sure it definitely wasn't a misclick, but either way, it went in their favor, and he's completely running the map here and really punishing this bot lane without any means of stopping the J4 engage. It's just gonna get worse from here.
Yeah. It's gonna be a difficult task for Natives Academy, as Inari Esports looking for a little bit more in the mid lane. Number one getting his 4th. I mean, it is Oriana. Who's gonna stop him? Oh, and Nat steals away the blue buff too.
Devastation across the rift here.
This is one of those moments where you're playing top lane and you're like chilling, right? Both these top laners 0-0-0. Oh well, maybe that's gonna change right now. Flash away from Oku. Now under the tower, looking for an outplay, going all out. Grass proc, not gonna let him live right there. Sylvain may even get that kill off. In the meantime, Natives Academy looking for a little bit more. Nico and Sakura maybe in some trouble to get the 2v3 kill. And there are the rest of Inar. There's the artillery. Can Svi and his Karma live long enough? Beat drop does connect for the root there. Svi is quite a tanky boy there, so we'll be able to run out safe.
Yeah, I mean, the only way into this game really now is this Yorick getting that split push going, trying to snowball it. He's doing what he can in this top side, but is it going to be enough? When you see your bot lane and your mid lane consistently taking these losses, you've got to try and step up. And I feel like they stepped at the right time, make that play happen. They've got that tower. Can they get this bot lane out of that lane and try and move them around the map, try and get them a little bit of gold? I feel like you can put Lux in any lane at this point and just sort of go, it'll be what it'll be, as long as our bot lane gets a little bit of something.
I hope that's not the comms right now for Zapdos.
You never know. You never know. But, you know, for a Lux player, it could be, hey guys, I've got ult up in 20 seconds. Let's just use it on the wave, and then let me wait another 20 seconds.
Yeah, with Luden's done, might as well. For now, still things are looking good for Inari, but there's a little bit more light on the horizon for Natives Academy, with Dolvani getting that solo kill, really just opening up this top lane matchup. Should really give them some hope, as now Oku has a little bit of help in the form of number one, but he'll just give a command, protect, and walk away.
Yeah, this team play is great to see, though, from a team that's just come up from Div 2 as well, just showing off this amount of team play. But the map movements are so next level. I feel like they're really going to be able to contest it in this division. I mean, they've already taken a couple of wins against Bandits, and I feel like they're going to show themselves as a mainstay here going forward. I feel like this is sort of an ideal of what happened in Div 2.
Oh, great flash out from Sakura right there. There's the Encore as the answer, but you can see how tanky this Malphite already is. Nico trying his absolute best right here, but it's gonna be the turnaround on that bot lane, and Svi's just being ignored completely. Why go for the Malphite when you can go for that super aggressive bot lane? 2 kills going over to Nat and Friends, and also this tower is theirs.
Yeah, I mean, the Malphite is just tanking everything, right? But it doesn't matter when there's nothing behind that FLS. Well, there's nothing behind that Malphite. The FLS is just too far behind to be able to pump out any damage. Even if they are fully DPSing this Malphite, there's just not enough follow-up. And this is sort of what we talked about, especially in the green room beforehand, was just where it is, you know, the follow-up after the Malphite. If this FLS gets behind, it just feels like it's just a Malphite standing above. And, you know, the Malphite has built a Zeke's, you know, trying to get that ulti, try and make that play happen early, but it's just not been enough. They haven't made the impact across the map compared to Nat.
Yeah.
Do we see Nat?
Well, talking about Nat, that was another kill going over to him.
And the ping is straight for the Herald as well. So they're really trying to claim all of these early objectives, try and snowball this lead effectively through this mid jungle, and they've really brought it down to bot lane as well. You know, get their mid lane ahead, get their jungle ahead, and just consistently gank the only damage threat.
Yeah, well, Oku not having the most happy game right now. Really difficult time against this York and his maiden.
But he's doing a job for the team, right? He doesn't need to be 1v1ing the Yorick consistently, right? He just needs to survive, get to the point where, you know, he's able to clear waves consistently, and then turn it to a team fight later on and just join his team. That's all he's got to do. And at the moment, he's doing a perfect job. You know, he's only died once in this matchup, and yet his team completely snowballed ahead, and that's what we want.
Exactly. So Oku, you're doing great. We're happy with you. You can look at the rest of your team and be like, you know what? They're doing pretty good. And if that's what carries you to victory, that's great. Now, you did say they were pinging for the Herald. But what do I see here on my screen? It's 3 Natives Academy. That looks like they'll be claiming the Herald.
I can only go off pings. Unfortunately, I can't hear their comms, but either way, I might still get this.
Oh no! Steals it away, just walks in and collects the Rift Herald, and now Speed might be in some trouble. Might just be a very, very long change. Number 1 looking for a catch right here.
Shockwave?
There it is. There's a Shockwave together with the Cataclysm combo. A little bit of some 1v1 time in the Herald pit, but was already solo. Speed going down, hands of number 1.
So importantly, I was correct about them getting the Rift Herald. So we can move on to the next statement, as Nat is just completely running around the map, just claiming everything for his team.
Looking for everything and leaving absolutely no crumbs on the Rift to collect for anyone else. Now,
well, Zathos.
Oh,
it's worth it.
Really
get that chicken.
Zapdos in his name.
Oh, awful pun, but I respect
I'm
it.
so sorry.
It's fine. We can move past it. You know. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Oh, that really left you speechless, huh?
It really did, yeah. I'm a sucker for bad jokes.
Some information on the new mid lane of Natives, and every search query just gave me pictures of Zapdos. So I appreciate the name. For my research, it wasn't great. But we're happy to have you here, Zapdos.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that he was more of a Bard support player who's picked up a few different mid laners since then. So, I mean, it's great to have in a sub. This sort of shows the difference between being on the main roster, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just this is masterclass from number 1. There's a reason why he's named himself that, and it has been domination in that mid side.
Number 1 really showcasing great performance. Blocks are also highlighted him on the desk, and for all the right reasons.
And I mean, they picked
massive threats.
I mean, they've come in here in Nari and they've picked a really easy to execute comp, right? And they've executed the game plan very straightforward, very simply, and as far as I'm concerned, pretty excellently. Don't think they've dropped an objective other than maybe 1 grub. They've grabbed every other one. They've contested the Aphelios, who's the 1 damage threat. The Malphite's someone who's got big damage kills and is going tank. So I'm hoping that the Orion is going to be the one to deal with him later on. So overall, you've executed your game plan perfectly. So, going into game, like if we're looking at this about going into game 2, alterations, I'd say simpler draft. Just easy to execute.
Absolutely. We'll love to see it. And then there's a Encore, Final Spark as a return. Nico quite low, but look at the positioning of Oku, really just tearing apart Natives Academy here in the river. Nat's also looking for an angle. Right now it's just threats as Natives Academy has to run away.
Yeah, and they can go back here and reclaim this vision. And then as soon as you disappear into Fog of War, they have to face check you into this Ash Seraphine instant combo. Let alone you've got Nat who's fed. Oriana Shockwave could be hiding in any wall, the ball. Crazy damage just around the corner. And you have to have the Malphite or the Yorick to walk in. Gives you a lot of pressure to sort of ramp this up. And you can see they've got a great ward here on the Baron, just sort of showing that you can't really get into any of that vision into the river. And that really helps just sort of lock out any control of knowing what they're doing.
I think Speed is spotted, and it might just spell a lot of trouble for the jungler of Natives, especially when Nat's there. Skura as well. 3v1, he tries to flash out, doesn't have an unstoppable force available for him. He's gonna make it a little bit of a chase right here. And that seismic
he's got ulti coming up soon.
Does so much movement speed, but he's gonna die eventually. Slowly, surely, there you go. Oku claims the kill for...
The longer you leave it, the more movement you can make over to this Baron and maybe try and contest it on this point.
Charlotte Crystal Arrow connects onto the Aphelios, force the Cleanser out there.
That is below.
This is just a constant threat. The anxiety playing against this Inari composition must be so high, especially knowing how far ahead they are.
Yeah, but look now, it's so hard for them to walk in. They can sit in this fog of war by this Nash, and they have nothing but squishy champs to try and walk in. All it takes is one shockwave, which is obviously down, as I say that, but all it takes is one combo, and they can just instant one-shot someone for walking in just to try and get vision. As soon as they get 1-2 more kills, they instantly start that Baron and finish it off. But taking it slow, they try not to risk it. They have no need to push it. You know, you've got Drake coming up in a minute 40, so Ocean Soul gives you a lot of pro, especially with, you know, the Seraphine to sort of bulk out that sort of healing side. There's nothing really to rush for. Just hold that vision, make the mistakes on natives.
And I appreciate it. I think they watched the previous series we've watched here, where there were a couple of sloppy mistakes, games being thrown to, according to some, or just hardly fought back, if you'd like to phrase it a little bit more optimistically. Nonetheless,
Yeah,
Inari really putting a lot of respect.
Yeah, and I mean, we are in a division where, you know, throws can happen. Mistakes can snowball into a win. It can just be a simple team fight. You know, it could just be a wipe at Baron and instantly natives are back into this. But the chances are unlikely. But you have to hold out for, you know, that underdog story.
No, they're unlikely, but never zero.
Definitely. That's why I love this region. You know, it's just always it's always the unknown. You know, you can go into a game, see a 10k gold lead, and go, well, actually, one play could flip this on its head. And you know, we've had games like that so far. You know, even as far as last week, we had Broad versus Good Chi, where, you know, Good Chi had drafted this wombo combo. They were 12k down, but it just takes one team fight to get them back, and they got back from a 12k gold lead to a stalemate, and then proceeded to lose. But they're able to reclaim that, and it just shows that this region has that sort of fire. They have that little bit of spice that can get back into things.
Absolutely, and considering the gold lead is 6,000, which is a lot, but it is foreseeable. We have seen bigger upsets. But take a look at that Dragon timer. It is now that the Dragon potentially sold for Inari Esports can be claimed. So this is where natives will fight for sure. Dubaini putting a lot of pressure on that top side. Here's the engage of Shockwave onto 3. That was gorgeous. The wombo combo from Inari was right there. Speed tries to run away, but there's no running away from the #1 mid laner from Inari, who claims 3 kills and the soul.
That is undeniably inevitable in this game. Just diving straight onto their backline, knows he has the Ori on honor ult consistently, just one shot on their backline, and this is the way the game has been going so far, and will consistently go until we get the top lane and jungler to walk in as a team together, and it's just opened the door for them to make these plays consistently. That soul point over, Baron over, and I think, unfortunately, it will start to be the game.
And that Shockwave, Cataclysm, engage, absolutely gorgeous, finding the perfect members. Zapdos as well as Oob, just not being able to have any say in that fight, not being able to cast a single ability. There goes Baron, there goes Soul. That's the tools you need for a successful game victory. And you know what I think is most happy about this Ocean Soul? Goku.
Okay, well, you give him something in that top side, right? Just to survive that a little bit longer.
Oh, the constant dread of those minions that Yorick can spawn. Oh.
Bane of my life, honestly.
Yeah.
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 But he's doing his job. He's locked that Yorick in that top side, and it's unleashed this combo. And like even here, we expected natives to be the ones trying to force this 1-4, but actually Inari has kept them in that 1-4, and it's been Inari's benefit, really.
Yeah. And you can see how comfortably Inari is playing right now. Flash forward from Sakura, trying to connect the Encore, forces the flash out with Zapdos. We saw Enchanted Crystal Arrow hit onto Oob, and that also forces the cleanse out of him. So this is looking really great. 26 minutes in, great Baron push.
Nat's got that GA now as well, so he can just dive onto the back line, just expect to die with that Orianna ulti. I mean, as unlikely as it is, he can jump onto that back line knowing that he'll have follow-up, knowing that he'll have the Orianna ulti, the Seraphine ulti coming down after. And by the time he's back up, instant combo back out, or even better, in.
Very, very fun game for a Jarvan to play for sure. You can see how Inari Esports is dictating this map. They're pulling and pushing Natives Academy to all sides of their own base. From top to mid, mid to top, back and forth.
Hard the way player this.
Tower, and there's nothing that Natives can do.
Fellas has got bad guns for it as well.
Oh my god, Zapdos being exploded once again by the Cataclysm Shockwave combo. We're waiting for an answer from Natives Academy, but it's just not coming in this particular game. And there's Moonlight Vigil doing some cute damage, but it's all going to be regained back. There's the Unstoppable Force finally onto Nico, but gets encore. It's so gorgeous. Nate not getting a double kill once again. And his number one, who's legendary, Inari Esports, who put on a legendary game of itself. It was so gorgeous. Beautifully executed from start to end. Put them in 1-0.
Absolutely a great game there from Nat and number one, really pairing together excellently to sort of push their gold lead effectively, make sure those combos land. You know, Orianna J4, easy to execute their ult combos, press them at the same time, get that instant burst, and they just execute that flawlessly, consistently to get Zathos behind and get the bot lane behind.
Yeah, number one on that Orianna together with Nat. I mean, didn't look like it in the first couple minutes that they were going to be the highlights of this game. We really thought, oh, this is going to be Ashe together with Seraphine really pushing out all that damage. But guess what? Number one is inevitable. It only takes one extra Enchanted Crystal Arrow shot from bot lane to really accelerate this Orianna.
Yeah, didn't even need to snap his fingers for them to disappear.
God, not the Thanos reference. All right, this was a great game for Inari Esports, and I think the form that Inari Esports have shown in the first couple games here is just magnificent. I think a lot of teams or players, viewers, didn't really know where to place them, but I think right now we can say that they might just be one of the top contenders.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting going deeper into this tournament to see how they line up. Obviously, we got game 2 to come, so we can't make all of our judgments based on this first game, but it shows that they drafted an easy to execute comp, and they did it perfectly throughout that. Then they dropped a single objective, other than maybe one Void Grub, and they played the map flawlessly on this J4.
Yeah, let's see what the desk has to say about this. Perfectly executed, raising the bar for everyone. Would I say I'm surprised? I'm not, because I've seen it up close and personal. But still, I would like to hear what J. Rule and the desk has to say on that. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much from the casters there. Great way to kick off their UKEL casting careers. And I gotta say, they both got the glasses on. There were no short-sighted takes in that one. And we're gonna break it down even further, right? We're gonna have a look into what happened, how it went down, how it started, how it ended, because obviously, if you guys have just tuned in, where have you been? The UKELs have 3 games already. You're missing it. Turn up on time next time. And secondly, we didn't love draft as a group. I think that's pretty fair to say. And I do feel like this game perfectly illustrated the exact reasons why. I just want to kind of get straight into the VTs, if possible, production, because I think VT1 just kicks it off exactly where we thought it would start. Blocks, I'm going to come to you with this one first. It was a sentiment where we talked about the early game, we talked about the pressure that can be applied by Nat, and it's exactly what we see.
Yeah, exactly. We had really spoken about how there were a couple different places you could look towards for your big engages, and one of them was going to be these Enchanted Crystal Arrows out of Nico, and he hits an absolute snipe right here to send it off in a couple of seconds, and it results in a big kill in the mid lane for his squad, and kind of just begins this game off. The fact that Nat, number one, they're able to begin things going pretty much as quickly as possible in this game was massive for them. Specifically, I thought Nat had an excellent game here on the Jarvan. He was all over the map early on, and just kind of never let the pressure off at all.
And it's what we wanted to see, right, coming out from Inari, right? We talked about their early game. We talked about Nat having so much potential in the game and then snowballing the mid and snowballing the bot lane. And I feel like, it's exactly what we got, right? It is literally to a T, as we can see the replay, a play to the mid, everyone turns up, Nat proactive.
Yeah, I mean,
really
that's
nice.
all you needed. That's all you need. Play aggressive and then have the foresight to say, we need to try and make some aggressive plays, otherwise we're going to get... They couldn't quite get dived on as well from natives, but if they just played anything, make the smart plays, an arrow long shot that wasn't always going to hit, but the fact that Nat was there to follow it up, guarantee there was going to be some kind of play coming out, that's what you wanted to see from Inari here. We did see some nice peel at the very end. Shpi coming in to try and save that somehow. Got a kill onto Nat there, but I mean, it felt like the support from Inari was there from the beginning. They had the idea, they had the execute, they had the backups as well. That's what you need. The coordination and the foresight to say, this is what we're going to do. If it works, we do this. If it doesn't work, we still make this happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to stick with you on this one, Avi. We're going to go to replay number 2. We're going to lock that one up because I feel like this is exactly kind of going on to what your point is saying, how it's just very simple for them to execute exactly what they wanted to do for Inari, and they didn't have to overthink it.
No, exactly that. I mean, how many times have people said it's just as simple as pressing all your buttons and hoping for the best? Because that's almost what we saw here from Inari. Like, they go in with that Cataclysm, with the flag and drag, and it exactly happens. They chuck an Orianna ball on, Shockwave comes out, no matter what, there's 2 options for follow-up on that. You've got the initial engage, you've got the follow-up engage. There's so many options to make it happen, and there's backup options. This is what I like from Inari. They've got the foresight, they've got the ideas, they make it happen regardless of how that initial engage comes off. That's what I really like seeing today, and I'm hoping that we see some more of that coming later as well, because that was really nice to see, just consistency, synergy, and just the combination of being able to say, let's go in, but we've got plans if it doesn't go our way.
And Bloxer, I want to get your take on this because I feel like Natives, obviously there's a load of things going on today, right? First game, there's potentially some nerves, there's potentially like this is the first time they're playing together on an actual live game. Like there are going to be things that change things, but I feel like one thing we kind of didn't see is them trying to be aggressive or trying to really force their way back into the game. They were kind of hoping for a moment later on to rear itself, but they never tried to, in my opinion, make those opportunities. And I do wonder if it's player style or if it's composition, because I don't know if they had the tools either.
I think it's easy to look towards the tools that they had right now because we don't know how good all of these players are going to be together. I think that can come for later. For right now, you know that you've got Dalwini who can be aggressive and who was able to get himself a solo kill on this Yorick early on. He was playing really aggressively and he actually had a couple of nice moments. But you're on the Yorick. If you're on a champion that can go and get involved on the map and play around the rest of your friends a little bit more, that's going to be a lot easier to execute. Same thing for Shpi. I actually thought he had a pretty competent game for himself overall, was trying to make things happen on the Malphite, and I do actually really like the Malphite. What I want from Natives is more of that. Is more of these champions where you know what they're going to do. From Inari, I think they've at this point probably graduated from I need you to have a composition that's just one single thing. They could probably show me something different and I'd begin to have the trust in them to be able to execute on a slightly harder to execute composition. For Natives right now, if they had have had this Inari composition, you know what that composition wants. You're going to go in. You're going to go and you're going to fight. You're going to look for an enchanted crystal arrow and then you're going to fight for the rest. Or if you had a different ADC, it would have just been you're going to go for a Cataclysm and a Shockwave and you're going to play the rest of the team fight out. For game number 2 out of Natives, I want a composition where I look at it and any person of the audience could look at it and go, this is what this composition wants to do. Here's where they're going to go play around. Because I think if they do that, it would make up a lot of what were some just issues with the coordination of the team, with how they were playing around the different members, people falling behind. It's easier to fall behind and be able to come back if your composition works as a whole, rather than being a couple different disparate pieces that don't form into one collective unit.
I agree. I think they just need to take their porcelain bowl. They need to turn on the taps. They need to fill that with pure opportunity water. And we're going to go for a quick break. Let that one sink in.
Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
still going for this space. You would have. Chimera super low.
Trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again.
Oh my god!
They lose.
And everyone bow down to Venom Crest. 2-time champion.
And we are back. And will Native's health bar go down like a wounded ox, or are they going to turn this one around and Inari are going to meet the horns of the bull? We will find out in this next game. I think draft is going to be a big moment right here, right? I feel like, Avi, it quite simply defined the last game, to be honest, regardless of how good teams are. I think that this is a sentiment where if you get draft right, you have a chance to win.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we saw that in the last game especially, where, I mean, Inari just picked a very straightforward, we're going to play one kind of style. We're going to play offense, engage, we're going to go at you, and you can't stop us. We're going to pull off every wombo combo we have, and that's it. And it worked for them. Whereas we look at what Natives brought to the table, like, they had all these different things where they had the Lux on mid, which, okay, what does the Lux do? Burst. But there was an opportunity for burst. Okay. They had the dive with the Malphite. Great. But who's following up on that dive? It just felt disjointed. They need to find some of that connection and synergy. Otherwise, they're going to leave themselves in a position where they just don't have anything to go off of again. And I really hope they find something to, like, bring it together again. Play it simple. Bring it back to basics, fundamentals. Otherwise, you're just going to put yourself in a really difficult position again.
Well, Bloxer, what you know some macro, you know a little bit about draft, maybe a lot about drafting actually. You watch a lot of League, you watch a lot of LPL, and they do some weird stuff as well over there. Shout out to the Rex I play. What would be like your key picks for success going into this next game? Because I do feel like some are definitely more open than others.
I think you want the kind of composition where you've got a real forwards go button style. We've talked about it before, right? I think in the mid lane, I want your kind of standard 3 picks that almost every single mid laner has in their inventory and likes to play. It's the Orianna, it's the Azir, and it's the Syndra. Any of those 3, they have different styles, they are different parts, right? But all of those work really well. From the jungle, I want the Engage. I think if you can steal away this Jarvan, that will be really good, or the Xin Zhao. And then from the bot lane, I think that you've got a real opportunity here to go towards a more late game scaling option. A lot of compositions could really benefit, I think, from just that extra bit of damage later on into the game. I didn't mind the Aphelios if you'd have had a composition around it that worked. I think the Jinx is really strong at the moment. You've also got options towards something like the Smolder or the Sivir. All of these champions can work together to give you a composition that's very easy to execute on, but also gives you options to play throughout all 3 stages of the game together.
I won't lie, for a second there I thought my computer just decided to explode, but it wasn't.
No,
it was just a scene change. It's like, damn, I think I'm lost. But anyway, we are going through the bans. Varus going to be taken away, Gangplank and Malzahar also taken off the board. I want to, what I'm thinking about, because I'm thinking like, what can Zapdos really play to maximize his utilization of the fact that he's a support into the mid lane, right? Obviously Karma is a pick that people play. There is a little bit of a world where Lulu could potentially be played if you're kind of remembering old school Faker. Also want to give a shout out to Xerath. I feel like Xerath is a good support and also a mid laner that can definitely be utilized. So I've seen it personally in some games, like I feel like it's a world where maybe that's something that could be picked up, or just maybe there's a couple pocket picks that he's played a little bit more in solo queue that aren't necessarily the best in fires, but would give him an advantage. Now this is a problem. Yunara first for Inari sounds rough, Avi.
I mean, it's a Yunara. I don't know what else you want me to say. She's just one of the strongest you can pick right now. And I think if you get a Yunara in a really strong position with a team that can just set her up for success, what do you have to lose, really? I don't know. You have to try and get some peel for her. You have to get the right engage with the right peel as well. Otherwise, you're just going to leave her sitting out to dry. You have to get her into the right angles to make stuff happen, or she's just going to get jumped on. So I really hope. I mean, you could say something interesting, but I don't know what you want me to say.
Spoilers from the future?
I was about to say, we gotten something from the future?
Kaylin,
but
wait, hold on, guys. Faker Spirit has taken over my bodies after. That's mad. All right, hold on one second.
Anything.
Kaylin Nami. I feel like Lucian Nami is what I'm expecting. What's your take on this one, Bloxer?
The Caitlyn's actually been on the rise majorly right now. The Lucian, it just doesn't give you the same profile throughout the entire game. It's really strong as you hit that mid game, but the later you get, it falls off super hard, especially with the junglers that we've got in the game at the moment. The fact that Brom's really strong, the fact that you can get yourself a Xin Zhao, which can just say no with that Crescent Guard, it has a lot of problems with it, whereas the Caitlyn, it gives you a much smoother profile throughout the entire game. You still get that big mid-game bump. I think also into the Yunara, alongside the Nami, you've got a pretty good poke potential if you hit any of the bubbles. That is negated a bit by the fact that you then get the Karma alongside it. This is going to turn into a bit of a push lane now for Nico and Sakura most likely, unless you can play this one pretty carefully. But I do think this is the beginnings of quite a nice composition. I like the damage that you've got. I like the fact that the Nami wave can be both engage and some good disengage if you want to play backwards a bit. And Zapdos, channeling Faker right here, has decided that he wants to grab himself the Silas this early on. Okay.
It could be a flex.
Aggressive.
It could be a flex. It could be top. True. It could be mid. You know, like it could be also in the jungle. Maybe I think they kind of patched it out, so I don't think it will be jungle. But
I mean, it can be.
There's a world where there's openness in this, and because we already saw the Scion, there is a world where maybe Daubeny is saying, actually, this is my weird pocket pick to come through. Once again, I am feeling like an Aria drafting that very simple comp. That one that will get them the win, the one that they know how to play, the one they will be comfortable on, and gives them a lot of options. Whereas natives, they still need to draft a couple of things to give them the agency that I want them to have. And given that when we talked about them earlier, right, Daubeny potentially being a big carry player, like, I kind of expected a little bit more engaged from the support, but you know what? The Nami, the wave can do a lot. It can set up the team fights, as we are going to go into that second round of bans. And Bessa taken off, Jarvan taken off as well by natives. Avi, what are you kind of looking for either team to round out their comp?
I mean, I don't know what I'm looking for in particular, rather than something for natives to actually play around this time. They had all those avenues to make something happen in that last game, but they needed something consistent. So I don't really know what they're looking for in this position. They've picked up the Caitlyn, Nami, and Silas. So I'm almost thinking, okay, what's going to ground you? What's going to say, we have this aggression when we want it, but what's going to say, we have the potential to play back as well? And honestly, I'm a bit lost right now. I don't know where you'd look.
Shout out to the respect ban of the Yorick. Not what I would expect it to see, but that is also not what I was looking for. Singed moving into the game, and okay,
sure.
You know what? We said crazy.
Yeah, and this should be for Daubeny, as we've been talking about, right, he's been really strong on the counters. Now, Singe is actually in a really interesting spot because of the changes with those role quests. If you can sit really far behind your opponent's tower, it can starve them out from the ability to actually deal with you. If they have to pull back to try to deal with you between their two towers, they're not in their lane, they're not getting their role quest updated, so it's really tough to deal with. The difference, right, is that a Scion doesn't care. You may put a Scion behind a couple of levels, doesn't matter, you're still going to be able to absorb that, but still, it's something for Daubeny to play around. Again, this is a composition out of natives that doesn't have an overall identity, but to be honest, on the other side of things, Inari are falling into a similar kind of trap. You're expecting this to be the Jace jungle. The Jace jungle has been incredibly strong recently, but it's only really been a pro pick. I actually haven't seen people at this kind of level play it. It's so strong during the early game. It can completely take over in the early jungling, and alongside the Zoe, who can just snipe out with the bubbles from the mid lane, the invade potential right here for Nat is major. I'm expecting Inari to spend most of their time in the early game in natives jungle.
Yeah.
The poke is strong.
The poke is scary.
Is available, but not pickable, because then you'd have to move Nami into some weird lane. So I feel like at this moment in time, I'm not hating Inaris. I do agree, though, they did kind of move away from what their identity was before. The Morgana being locked in here, obviously, could go jungle. It could be Silas jungle as well. One thing I will say I really like about Inari is they've drafted ultimates that aren't good for Silas. They've really said, you know what, you're going to pick Silas. We're not going to give you anything that you can really utilize against us. So now, essentially, Zapdos is going to have to pick up like Karma. Oh, is that even? I don't even know how that works on Silas. Maybe someone that's played it can let me know. Or Yunara, which again doesn't sound great. So it's pretty much Scion or nothing.
Yeah.
As you can pick up the Karma ult, it empowers you a little bit. It does. It's terrible. The Transcend Self is actually okay, right? If you're really weaving yourself through a team fight, that's not the worst, but it is the unstoppable onslaught or nothing. You're absolutely right. Maybe there's one specific instance in which it's really useful to be able to portal somewhere and jump back, but I don't really see that as an opportunity. It's a pretty terrible set of ultis, and that's kind of the problem with grabbing the Sylas so early. I do wonder if you were worried as natives about Inari taking it away from you. It's not exactly something I know that number one plays majorly. He seems to mainly be playing a lot more of the standard looks that we would have been expecting, but hey, potentially that was the worry right there. I do also think that as much as Sylas is very predicated on what its opponents have, what the ultis are, it still works within the context of this composition.
Yeah, I just again am a little bit like, okay, how are they going to play out these team fights? How are they going to kind of get themselves around on the map and doing well? It just, there are still some holes in the game. I personally do favor Inari's composition, even though they've actually chosen something a little bit more complicated for themselves. Last moment, 10 seconds for your breakdowns each. Avi, you go first, then Bloxer. What are your final thoughts?
I think it's very simple, natives. I like the ideas. There's no synergy coordination. I think it's going to be, again, Inari just taking it.
Yeah, I mean, name of the game is Invade. Get into the jungle right here as Inari and make it uncomfortable to play out for natives.
Okay, well, with that being said, we're going to throw this over to the casters once again. Craze and Gizmo, take us into game number 2.
And welcome back to the casters for game 2 between natives and Inari. First game, very convincing for Inari. Can they make it a 2-0? Gizmo, give me your thoughts on this draft.
I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of the draft. Mostly from native side, just based on the fact that they're lacking those tools. It's not a simplistic draft. It's more complex, and they're adding these layers in, and they've shown that they weren't able to pull it off in the last game. I don't see any reason to start believing that they will this game. But again, Inari has built quite a straightforward draft. It's a poke draft, so it's harder to execute than a simple team fight. But yet they have the tools there, and they showed in the last game that actually they never really got through to that big team fight moment they needed.
Yeah.
They just, and I feel like, you've got Inari on blue side, so even when you get to those drakes, natives need to stack drakes early, but Inari will always be able to poke them off for drakes because they'll have access to the back of Drake pit, shooting over that. So you've really got limited pushability in those lanes. If Caitlyn does get a lead in this lane and does start to snowball, it won't be long before one of those team fights. All it'll take is one Jace Q, one Zoe Q, one Karma Mantra Q to sort of put you behind, and then all of a sudden your lead is just vanished. And your hope in engage is a singed. So I'm a little bit confused of what this is wanting to be. I mean, do you just put Black Shield on Singe and just say run? Just run. Go.
I mean, you've got a Singed with an Insanity Potion and a Morgana Black Shield. I say that's quite solid.
It's not rock solid, but it's okay. It'll get you in there. But what else do you need? Where are you looking? You'll be able to put down the poison, great. You'll have a lane where you're both proxying, because Sion will maybe proxy, may even just hit towers, because it probably hit towers faster than the Syndra will, but they'll both proxy. So top lane will be basically just no man's land. And then you're hoping that the Syndra late game will turn up to the team fights and be that front line for you. Because last game you didn't have a front line, and you struggled. Well, you had one front liner, but it was already in the mixer. And yeah, now you've entered the same situation. It just feels like I wasn't really learning from the last game.
Yeah, and on the other side, I think we're getting a completely new look from Inari Esports. Previous composition was very stock standard, if you will. I think we've all seen this one played through a couple small iterations across the seasons, but it just always goes to show how good it works. But then to execute it as that properly as well, props to them. This is a poke composition, and I think as a EU resident, I always have a little bit of flashback seeing a Jace being picked up. But we'll have to see how it turns out, if they can also play the little bit more complex compositions. What we can say is they've got a thorough identity of what they want to achieve here.
Yeah, I mean, they executed their comp perfectly in the first game, snowballed with the J4, right? It's all about this next game, if they're able to set up that vision line to then be able to poke over. If they can get that set up, which, based on how they played the map last game, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to manage it. I feel like it's going to be very hard for them to walk in and contest. You're going to have to have that Singe walking in. And Morgana Black Shield's not going to stop you from taking all of that damage. It can only do so much. And you need to max other things to be able to do clear.
Natives Academy for sure the underdog in this game number 2. Still winless, and the opposite can be said for Nari Esports. 3-0 at the moment, top of the standings if they also win this game. Poke is the name of this one. That's on his oh so comfortable Jace. Absolutely one of his most played champions. We're going to see if that will give them the win today. As we see what also happened in the previous game, some bot lane level 1 shenanigans, but this time we see that natives have brought some extra help.
I mean, Singer's here, but
it's not going to do much. Well, Sakura dropped down to 50% HP, forced to recall. I would like to bring your attention to Speed, Silas, who had to use Flash somewhere.
I mean, look at Oku here. Look, he's pushing him in. He might be able to just get a solo kill here.
Yeah, where are you going? I don't think he's gonna abscond. He's gonna die to the chickens. That's first blood almost a minute in.
Okay, yep. I mean, that Salas jungle tech clearly stolen from Rob Out's solo queue experiences, because that's not what we want to see here, and that's really going to put behind this jungle tempo. And Tarn, where the Singe turning up late, he can just go back in and mess around with him. He's fine to give a little bit of farm, a little bit of that scaling, because there's nothing else on the map to do.
He went to the mid lane, just walked in there like the big man sign he is. Forced also the flash from the Morgana. So no one also has all the room in the world against this Morgana. It is
great statement there. We all stand by it. We're new to the scene, but we still know, you know? No culture.
All right. Okay, in this top lane match, it's going to be a slow top lane matchup. That's all I have to say. I think I have never casted a Singe game in my life, and I come from the Benelux region. Bwipo originates from the Benelux region, and he is notoriously known for his unconventional top lane picks, one of which is the Singed.
Yeah, if that's what you think he's... Yep, that's definitely what he's known for.
What do you think he's known for, then?
That's fine. We'll just move on. There's no need to touch on that topic. But yeah, I mean, Singe I've not seen back since the days of like connecting esports sort of thing. It's not really that well played, but has a lot of stats in it, as we see. Now we're going aggressive.
Yeah, a little walk in the Karma in the bot lane, and you can see the damage being dealt already. Flash forward from Nico. Gets there, the 2v2 kill. Looking for a little bit more, and Oct also forced the flash out.
That's here.
Shock blast accelerated, gets it, secures it. And that's an RU Sports 3 kills in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it might be another one here. I mean, Singe should normally walk this out. Oh, Sani didn't land, but still a good chippage here. And, you know, winning on all sides of the map, really. And yeah, as a poke comp, that's exactly where you want to be. Don't chase a Singed. He's low HP Singed. Got flash.
It's tempting. Oh, he just flashes in. Secures the kill with the Soul Furnace. Outplays all around for Nari Esports. I think in total we're now 2 solo kills in for Oku. A bot lane 2v2 solo kill, and then a little bit of assistance from that. It just seems like individual outplays this time round.
Yeah, I feel like he waited then as well, just to get that grass proc as well. So really well played to maximize that damage on that flash, just to get that instant proc so there wasn't a reactionary flash. Really nice to see that.
Really in the little thing.
I mean, you've got a shield? Okay. Yeah. I mean, the fun
thing
was
about, the question there.
The fun thing about the Morgana shield interaction is it used to not go off on the sleep, so if it already hit you, it didn't work. It was a really weird interaction. I used to hate it as a support player. You'd shield your ADC and he'd just instantly get popped. Crazy interaction, so I'm happy to see that they've taken that out of the game, because it at least opens it up to, you know, be a counter for this matchup.
Exactly. I mean, Zoe on release, I don't think we want to go back there. That was a scary time.
Just any release champion is scary enough.
Most, yeah. That one in particular, because it was just one pedal star, one ability. Right, this is too broken.
And if you flash away, she gets the flash to follow you. Crazy. It's just typical. As we see now, look at this path in now, just to get right behind this Caitlyn Nami. It's exactly not what you want to see from natives.
Yeah, and they both have no flash either. Ox here in trouble. Nico secures that kill. Beautifully executed lane gank.
And this is what I feel like is always the issue with the Caitlyn, right? You always end up playing up the lane because of your priority. You want to get that snowball early because your champion needs it. It hits that mid game, it has that lull state. You need to collect those plates early to try and get that mid game to a point where you can actually contest stuff effectively. And you're pushing up so much, and without any vision line set up, you're very, very easy to gank. You're already stepping up past your bush. You've not got anything in pixel, and it's just an easy gank every time. And I thought it would get to the point where we'd get a Drake and they'd be collapsed upon, but at this point, they need to set up this vision line to protect this Caitlyn if they stand a chance to get back into this game.
It's a Caitlyn that's behind in the early game. It feels like instead of I don't know what type of gunner is. I'm not too big on guns as
they will go for more. Should be a dead Nami here.
This is gonna just turn from bad to worse. Oct on the wrong side of the map. Has the heal to buy some time. P is there. It's gonna connect the duck there. So Sakura will fall here. That's finally a kill on to the Caitlyn. But here's return Kang from Nat. Securing another kill right there. Can Nico survive this? Not when the E2 connects. Zefdos, meanwhile, getting solo kill. Why not? 4 dead on this side of natives.
And yet again, Nat is that inevitable force. Always reading the map. Always seems to be at the same tempo as the enemy jungler. So always matching that energy. And it's always giving them that little bit more, that little bit extra in these players as we see Sion.
Yeah, forced to use the ultimate and the flash right there. Oku also using his unstoppable force. Saw an opportunity right there, but not going to be able to claim it.
And I mean, if the Sinji isn't able to get this push in this wave already, it's probably only get worse going forward.
I think Ox down. Oh my goodness. That Nami is now sushi, and Ob is also done for. A double kill for Nico. 5-1 in 3 on the Yunara right now. This is rough. This is rough.
And I said it going into the green, in the green room when we saw the draft. If I'm playing this Karma, I'm going full damage. Nami does not do the best when he managed Cure in the face. It's been proven time and time again, and that's a perfect point. We've seen the Dark Seal picked up, we've seen a little bit of the AP picked up, and instantly, as soon as that Magic Cube pops up, at half HP.
Should be looking for a lane gank on a very low mana Oku, but he'll call it off after stealing the ultimate. Oh my god, Oct. He's going insane. He doesn't know what to do, he's dancing under a tower.
Sometimes you've got to make impacts in different ways, okay? Not everyone can be the outplay, some people have to be the dancers. There's a different way of getting an advantage in the lane.
Exactly.
Nat coming down. There should be a dive here.
They could definitely
try. On the other side of the map.
Nat looking for it. Oct already poked down so low. Just the shock blast, not even accelerated, will secure the kill. Also having to flash away there, using the ace in the hole, trying to kill out Nico, but that was blocked. Zapdos teleported in, but he's not going to find anything.
I really thought Nico would stay to try and push this wave out, but taking the reset, trying to hold this advantage as long as possible. They've already drawn Zathos down. I believe it's no one. Now the mid laner is getting that advantage of the push. See Nat here
No one gets the help from Nat once again, and that's a beautiful outplay onto Spee, who thought he caught a Zoe alone, but nothing seems to be less far away than the truth. Zapdos looking for Sakura here, but Nico back in time to save his support.
Yeah, the unstoppable in the mid lane didn't seem that unstoppable, but Nat is the unstoppable.
Oh, he's literally unstoppable at this point. 5-0 and soon Jace. In a poke composition, this is not an EU Jace. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely knew he was going to turn unstoppable there. That's why I made that call. 100%, not definitely luck. Either way, yeah, running the map, same as last game. Feels like, he's playing Jace like he was playing J4, just everywhere, consistently ganking, but this is why this is a pick and ban champ in most regions. Doesn't get the smite though.
Yeah, 1v1 versus Speed. Doesn't connect the E2. Knock away from Nat there.
Golden infantry though, so he's holding a lot of gold. So when he comes back out, that could be more in his favor. But Sas just got that reset, just got that proto belt, able to try and make that force happen. I feel like if you're Sharpie, you sort of want to try and push that a little bit more, knowing you've got that item advantage, but just the way it goes, you have to sort of back off when you haven't got that team support in the area.
I mean, look at the back now. That's a Ghost Blade and a Brutalizer together with a fancy pair of boots for Nat. That was how much gold he had in his pockets, and I'm scared for Natives when he returns. Just immediately going back to the bot lane as well. Can we get a Karma to run in there? Sakura flashing forward, but it's going to be a full 3v3 accelerated Shock Blast. Misses. Tidal Wave finds Nat then, so this is not too bad for Natives Academy. It's Nico looking for a little bit more. How much poke can there be done? Can they translate into a kill? Nat going quite low, 200 HP there, but Nico going absolutely insane. Getting the kill onto Oct, ace in the hole, being blocked by Sakura. But look at Zapdos, looking for an entrance, looking for the cleanup here. This is a perfect angle for the Morgana, but the healing is massive. So he gets only one. Make it 3 though when Zapdos goes back in with Spee. Here's no one finally returning to the fray, being able to collect 2 more kills in his 1v1 now with Spee, looking for a third. Gonna be some vision gameplay, picks up a heal and a flash. That's the power of Zoe. But still, a little bit uncomfortable between the minions. Waiting for a bubble, and there it is. Unstoppable on the Zoe 10 Dark Seal stacks. Little scramble the bot lane, and as always, Inari wins it out.
What a lovely guy letting him get the way of it all. But yeah, great claps there from mid lane. Everyone's sort of been up. Ooh. All this is fine. I feel like
the not again! Oku solo kills Novani in the same way it happened the previous time his flash was up.
Is that W Max Lion? That just seems a crazy amount of damage coming out of that. But either way, we're seeing Inari pushing this tempo. You can see this game they're having a bit more of a struggle with it. Natives are trying to collapse on them a bit more effectively and are making those plays. Sars being a bit more effective in doing that, but no one coming in and cleaning up these plays after. And that's really taking something personal with this Caitlyn pick, really trying to push it out of the game.
Oh.
Words do not describe that play.
Yeah.
I think we'll just sit on that one for a minute.
We're gonna pretend like we did not see that. In the meantime, just a couple seconds ago, the first dragon of the game has been taken. Now, you have made it quite a point, Gizmo, the dragons in this game, yet it only took them 12 minutes to get the first one. There is no one showcasing what the Zoe can do. Yep, that seems right. Second one, there it is. Double kill solo. This is honestly... A bigger snowball has never been formed in the history of League of Legends, but Natives, they're not done yet. Looking in the top lane is a very tanky sign. Once they spot Sakura as well, they're not quite
he walks this one out. Karma's come in. He's fine. In fact, he might kill.
Yeah, looking for it, but now he might have overstepped. Luckily, Sakura right there in time to give the shield and give the healing, but you shouldn't chase that singed. Shutdown finally going over to Dolvani in the top lane.
You can't win in every lane in this game, but doesn't matter when you're completely destroying to this mid and bot side. Completely cashing in. You've just left Zoe in this bot side now. Mid lane quest has been complete, bot lane quest has been complete, so the map's open for the Zoe to sort of roam and find these different angles. And it's been working out for them. Oh, Karma fancies a bit of a kill. See, if you go full AP, that kills there, by the way.
I'm still mad that it's not a full AP Karma. You shouldn't be there. It's not your side of the map anymore. Although he is the one that has most of the kills on the side of Natives. You can see he's not in much trouble right there. Silas.
Siren's collapsing on the bot side though.
Looking for it. That's a great tidal wave though from no one. Can he live that? No, he cannot. Oku trying to make something right here, but such a slow sign against 2 members that can quite easily kite, unless Knockup's land still has the onslaught available. Doesn't quite use it just yet.
When you put the Zoe against the Caitlyn, you're looking for your ulti, you're going one way. Caitlyn always knows you're coming back for that trap placement, so always got to be a bit careful with how you're using that ulti in that Zoe, playing it aggressively. Same thing with the Sion Q, as it turns out. And well demonstrated.
Thank you so much for that demonstration right there. We really need that open Oct, as now Singed flashes away, uses the Insanity Potion. Nice try there, as 3 members make that 4 of Natives Academy have now made their way onto the bot lane. In the meantime,
you've got a Jin grouping in the bot side here.
Oh, that's a large Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Accelerated Shock Blast! One-shot Zapdos right there. HP has to get a way out of there. Steals there to Jace ultimate. We can't quite get anything from that, but excellent demonstration. What the Zoe can do, not quite done yet. Going for it once more. Natives Academy send down 4 members in the bot lane, and they all fall 1 by 1.
And it's just a wash. I mean, this poke comp has hit its scale point. You know, your 10k gold advantage, you just throwing your abilities out there and going, if it hits, it hits. If not, they've got big enough AoE that they'll hit the creeps and maybe get a little bit of splash damage. Just seems absurd. I mean, this Nami, I think if they get hit by any ability at this point, they just get one shot. So really hard to come back into the game now for Natives.
Check. Oh my goodness! No.
And that's their tankiest member.
Oh, don't say that. Ooh. Adding assault to injury. Well, no one. How you doing 1v3? Shpi looking for it together with the Caitlyn, but that's the perfect Sleepy Trouble Bubble. But once again, 4 here. Nice fancy feat, but you can't really run away from Morgana like that. Look at the damage he was still able to do on Oct. But a great collapse right there. Gets that shut down. In the meantime, though, Nari able to pick up the Rift Herald. Sakura just walking in here, but Shpi can also do the same thing that the Karma's been doing, just with more AP. How much damage can Nico do? Can he avenge for his fallen support? It looks like, yeah, 1 for 1. Just being able to survive barely right there. But look at the drive-by Rift Herald. Knocking up Ox right there. There's Shock Blast doing so much work. And then it's Oku who can follow Nats on the killing spree onto the Jays. And now it's just a game of cat and mouse. Chasing for a couple more kills. Zapdos first on the menu. Ox just being able to heal out of that one. Nico will find Zapdos. Has to be careful. But the binding misses, so it doesn't matter. More kills. That's already the 30th for Inari.
Yeah, 14 a 17-minute game. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I mean, it does just sort of show. I feel like Inari is just sort of playing with them here. You know, they're going for these consistent fights. They might be trying to go for the kill record for the UKL, is what I'm thinking. If we can get any ideas in production or anything, what the highest kill count is, we'd love to get a counter going.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably on their way for highest kills per minute. Because I assume there's been some couple just incredibly long games where you'll get into extremely high number kills. As no one, you gotta stop being out of position like that. You can't afford that. Shpi
not for the
using the portal jump. That would have been cute if you had an E, but couldn't connect.
Couldn't connect. But you can see Inari, they're really trying to push their advantage. And I feel like the last game was very calm and collected. They knew where they needed to be. This game, I feel like they're letting their hair down. They're just sort of letting what will happen. They've taken their advantage early game and just sort of going through the motions, just trying to pick up what they can. I feel like we've lost we haven't got any vision set up. We're not prepping stuff, so we are getting caught out with like sloppy rotations. But they're at the point where what's laps.
Yeah, I mean, you can see an attempt from Natives Academy, but before the fight even started, they had found Dobani, and it is just Inari Esports going for the full house. 5-0, a clean ace, 90 minutes in. They're going to crack open the base immediately.
Yeah, you can see the pings for them now on the inhib. You know, you've got 15-second death timers. It should be easy to really open this up now. You've got San who can just tank everything. Really balanced jump there, but you know what Singe got to do, just sit there and watch as the inhib's taken.
Yeah, because if you're in Dolbeni's position, what are you going to do as a Singe now? You're going to try to get behind them, but they'll just one-shot you. You've just seen that in the previous fight. Their tankiest member, oh my goodness, it was an accelerated shock blast, I think, but might just be a little bit too far forward. On here, Shpi going in with a beautiful stolen sign ultimate, but does only get no one. And now you can see Oku just walking forward, trying to get a kill onto Zapdos. Will get it eventually. Dolbani also finally behind enemy lines, getting his shutdown onto Nico. So Inari Esports stopped in their tracks. Sakura not done quite yet. See if that was an AP Karma kills. And now
100%.
needs to run for her life.
Yep.
Another
See?
Mantra Q.
Look at that
Still not
HP.
enough.
100
AP Karma
HP.
would have killed. Just saying.
But most importantly, that play there, from the Singe going on that flank, the Sars going in unstoppable, really blowing up that backline. Does sort of stop the execute objective of this Drake. It does give them time to reset. They did lose equal members, but they did get a little bit of that cash back in their pocket to try and get that scaling in. Hopefully now we'll see them try and fight over this Drake. Obviously, it's not really that critical for either team. Maybe Natives want to take it just to stall that, but I think there's more important things like trying to catch your way back into this game, get some of those shutdowns, maybe find a pick on a side.
Well, where's Oct going? Well,
to the death round.
The fountain. Yeah. Done for, not now legendary. I suppose the win there for Natives is that Jace is now flashless.
That's a pretty big win. I think we'll take any win here, really. In this little game state, Zathos is quite comfortably farming that bot side. Quite nice, and with Morgana, heal to full off a W on that. So we see Singe sort of getting the treatment here.
Yeah, caught one sleepy trouble bubble and is now also summoned to the fountain. Baron now taken for Inari Esports, and it's looking absolutely beautiful for this team.
So now taking the opportunity to start the Drake, though. I think it's a bit late, but they're looking for top towers. They don't care about this Drake. It's only second Drake for them, so it gets you a little bit of an objective bounty, but you'll lose your top tower. You might end up losing mid and top inhib with this pressure.
That was a massive objective bounty. I don't think it's going to be a difference maker, but it's nice either way.
You've lost your mid tower for that, and definitely your top tower. So
it's not a worth trade. I was trying to find a golden edge there, but it was very, 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 very different. Very difficult.
We don't need to sugarcoat
so.
it. It's fine. It's.
All right, engage there. It's going to be a flash tidal wave, but immediately the Nami then in an awful position. Can't do anything. 4v5 now. See how much damage the artillery can do of Inari as they look for a very swift win.
And they got pushing every lane. So it's just that slow bleed now, just for victory. Get that poke over the top and just let them just fade away into nothingness.
There goes P with an unstoppable fort stolen there, but it's not gonna matter. Oob gets one kill, and that's gonna be the silver lining for Natives Academy. But from start to end, it was Inari Esports who have collected themselves 45 kills in this game. Make that 46, why not? In the most dominant game of League of Legends I have ever seen.
Yeah, definitely the most dominant one I've seen in a while in the UKEL. That was hard to watch at points, to be honest. I mean, great to see that they've able to put that comp in its execution perfectly. Get the poke comp going. Everything else. There was a few mishaps. I think they sort of got a bit silly and sort of got away with, they had such a massive gold lead that they were just sort of trying to make plays and push it, which is, when you are this far ahead and it's clearly like, one of the top teams versus one of the bottom teams, you need to try and experiment, push your limits, limit test to try and get that point. It's good to see. It makes it a little bit more entertaining when you see a whitewash like that, but yeah, just hard to watch at points.
Yeah, you could just see that Inari was playing with their food. They were having so much fun in this game, and I cannot imagine how it was to be in the shoes of any of the members of Natives Academy who now go 0-4 in the UKEL. All right, that wraps it up for us here at the caster desk, but we have probably some top tier analysis coming up for this game where there's so much to analyze. How does a snowball form, and how can you ever stop it in your life? J-Real, please, analysis.
Okay, the analysis, the quick breakdown, the TLDR. It wasn't the best day in the office for Natives. We can just put it pretty lightly. Inari still looking pretty strong. I will say, and I actually want to talk about them first before we kind of break down what happened in the game. I feel like so far they've shown up pretty well on teams that we would consider like mid or lower tier in the league so far. I'm very interested to see how they do against top teams, Bloxer. You're muted, by the way. So we're gonna run that back.
Myself?
We're gonna run that back. You guys didn't hear that.
That's
so
crazy.
Run it back again. We'll give you the prompt one more time. So Bloxer, obviously we talked about how they've done well in the mid and the bottom tier teams.
Immediately.
How are they going to do against the top tier?
Right.
Go on, Bloxer.
I'm pretty impressed with the way that Inari have been playing. Yeah, their matchup here today versus Natives, it was expected to be a 2-0, and it was a pretty easy matchup overall. And like you said, mid to bottom tier teams, Bandit, we're not expecting them to really be competing for the title, although they could always surprise us. But so far, they've played 4 very clean games for themselves. They haven't felt like they've been in too much of a scrap that they couldn't deal with. Next week they play against Broad, and I think that is the first time where we really get to see them compete against one of these top tier teams. Now obviously Broad, they are 2-2 at this point, but we are expecting this roster to get better as they start playing, as Akaz gets more comfortable down in the bottom side of the map. If this is even just a 1-1 right here for Inari, I'm beginning to put them into at least my top 4 in the league, and I'm beginning to be pushed towards maybe a top 2, top 3, not top 1. I don't think they're quite the best team in the league right now, but if they can show up next week versus Broad, I'm very much in on this squad. I really like what they've been doing.
Yeah, I will say, I think Broad are definitely better than their scoreline states. I think they've just been doing the Broad classic of, really good, can win a lot of games, then make mistakes and let it go. But they always get better in playoffs, so there's still a lot of hope for them. But I do agree, I think it is a big test for Inari as well. Abby, let's talk a little bit about this game, right? Let's talk about how it started. I think we should have the first clip potentially. If not, we'll just yap about it anyway. It started off strong from Inari from the get-go, and I will say this is one thing that I think we should talk about. They are just into playing some interesting strategies.
I mean, they tried to play aggressive early, which I don't dislike. I think it makes a lot of sense that you try and get an early advantage here, but a little bit of greed almost from Spee just to say, you know what? Chickens are coming up, let's stick around. There's no way anything happens off of this. And I don't blame him for that decision. Like, in what world does anyone follow you there? But then I think this is just really smart from Urku here. Like, there was absolutely no reason for the Scion to be there, and that just made an easy pick. They kind of set the tone for the rest of the game, no? Like, you get that early pick, you take advantage of one little misplay, and just snowball it off of that, and that's kind of how it played out the whole game, where Inari were just there all the time. They had everything they needed. They had all the engages, all the timings, and Natives, they made a couple of little mistakes very early that just allowed them to completely snowball off of that, which I get it. It makes sense. It's difficult to position to come out of after a while, especially when you make those mistakes, so many of those mistakes early as well. You just can't come back from them a lot of the time. So I don't blame them for not being able to come through and make anything happen, but it is a very difficult one to really balance. It just felt like they couldn't control even their own side of the map either. They just didn't. They didn't have any way to just take it slow. They couldn't play it slow. They couldn't play it fast. They couldn't do anything because those handful of early mistakes that just set Inari up to take the game with them.
Yeah, definitely back to the drawing board. I think for Natives, definitely a few fundamental things that I think they need to work on. Blocks, I will say there was a little glimmer of hope for them. There was a tiny streak of a silver lining in that dark cloud where they were able to get a decent scrap off in the bot lane that looked well. Obviously, it ended up going the way of Inari once again with the Zoe cleaning up. But I feel like there were some moments where it's like, you know what, actually, if that play is 10 seconds earlier, if they prep just a little bit different for it, if they have a composition that yields it more, those plays could work. There is a little bit of life there.
Yeah, this is the main thing for me, is these drafts are practically unplayable at this point, right? I get where a couple of the pieces are going. It feels very solo queue. I think solo queue-esque is what kept coming up for us, where I've played this composition, right? I've been the Silas in this situation where, well, I don't know which lane I can particularly gank. I've been early invaded, and where am I particularly going right now? The lane that I didn't mind was the Caitlyn Nami. It's a proper lane. We've seen it quite a lot, but when you build that, you then need yourself some kind of control mage in the mid lane, or you can pair it with a proper assassin that wants to go get things. I don't think that you're really enjoying the Morgana here, particularly out of a solo queue environment without a proper top laner that can get things going. That's really rough. I mean, going back to that initial play that we watched the replay of, right? The reason you're able to do that as Oku is because you're into a Singed, and you're expecting the Singed to be earlier, pushing you in, proxying you probably. It doesn't matter what you do in lane. It doesn't matter if you're 5 minutes late. Who cares? This lane is not about my lane. It's about me getting out of this lane to go do other things. Well, I can get out of it immediately and just go see what's up with the Sylas. Sylas notoriously clears pretty low health, especially with the chicken start. You roll the dice, he starts the chickens, you can go get him. Wonderful. I really like that decision making right here out of Inari. And for natives, it's just, hey, a more standard composition with easier to execute goals would have allowed them to maybe get through these early games into the mid games where they were finding plays, because these early games, as Avi was putting beautifully, was putting them in such a hole that they just could not crawl out of.
Yeah, and I've got to say, it's also just good map reading, good awareness, and good adaptability, right? Obviously, you saw the trade early, Sylas goes low, and then you already have problems clearing, plus you're low. We know where you're going to start because we saw you on top side and you have 10 seconds to get to a camp. So it's a really nice play coming in from Inari. Heads up play, able to make it work, and then obviously took the game by storm. So with that being said, that was a 2-0 win for them. Another one, a 4-0. So let's have a look at the standings to see where that has placed them in total, because the standings are fresh on the doors. Inari number 1, Absolved coming in number 2. And we do have a bit of an interesting one here because obviously Gucci, Broad, 2 teams that have been favoured, you know, haven't necessarily played the same amount of games as some of the top teams here, but definitely not taking the top spots at the moment. So the league definitely could shake up a lot in these next couple of game days. And obviously I think there's 3 more weeks after this one as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there's more. I do need to double check that.
I think there's more. We've got all the way up to a week 8.
We have 7 weeks left.
Regular season
6 weeks left.
Yep, we are playing
6 weeks
7.
left.
Double match
maybe
days
7, maybe 5. Who knows? Either way, it's not really important because you're going to tune in every week and we'll tell you when the season ends. So make sure you're there. We're going to bring it back to us. Let's round up what we saw today. Let's kind of have a little final moment, final say for everyone, and then we'll close this one out. So Abby, you can go first. What's your final takes on the series we watched today?
I think just immediately, I think, Blocks, you said it earlier, but Inari, they still have a lot to prove against some of our top teams this season, but a 4-0 start, I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. This is exactly what you want getting promoted this season, and I think they do have that potential to take it further this season. I have a lot of faith in them, and I'm really wanting to see more. Natives, this is the first game we've seen from them. They didn't perform as well as perhaps they could have. They've still got plenty of chances. They've got plenty of opportunity, so hopefully, we're not expecting a championship contending team here, but what I do want to see is some cohesion, some synergy, just to make something happen. I think they can make it happen. I have faith in them, but they still have a lot to prove here.
Yep, agreed. I think that today has been really interesting for the top of the table in the Inari rising up. You've got Bulldog looking interesting. You've got Broad as well in a situation where losing both games, one game in both, has been really hurting them. They are a team we're expecting to be looking right up at the top, but also the top of the standings, they're going to be interesting, whatever. I think this has also been very interesting for the bottom of the standings, and specifically for the Thursday games we've got. This Thursday, we have got teams looking for their first wins all across the board. Verdant looking for their first win, Natives looking for their first win, and Nuclear Vikings looking for their first win. These are 3 teams who really want to just get something going for themselves. A single win can kickstart you going on, and they are all up against teams right here that are more middle of the pack. You've got Verdant versus Rise, Natives versus Bulldog, and Bandits versus Nuclear Vikings. I think there's wins in here for our currently winless teams, and that's always exciting to see.
Indeed, it is. UKEL, always a close race, never over until the playoff bell rings. So there's a lot more action to tune in for. We'll be back on Thursday. Make sure you're there at 6 o'clock. If you are late, it's not okay, mate. That's all I have to say. We will see you later. That was us from the desk. Thanks so much to the casters, and we will see you on Thursday.
We'll take our bombs, we'll make amends here. Where the bring that we must remain. Relive the pain.